She rented her dead mother's house to a mafia boss, and then found out her mom used to run that world. Arya thought she was just flipping an old property in Italy for cash. Easy plan, right? Wrong. Because the so-called tenant is Sebastian Biano, a walking red flag with bodyguards, cameras, and enemies hunting him down. Then, boom. She gets attacked, nearly killed, and the real plot twist drops. The house is a mafia safe house. Her family name means something dangerous, and she was never a random girl in this story. She was the target all along.
Feels. So this is how it ends. For real? The ice-cold sea burned in her lungs as she plunged into the Black Mediterranean. Her name? Arya Ellis, 25, a shrink from Detroit. See, she wasn't the type for dramatic life choices. Nope, she was the planner, Feels. The one in control, the one everyone relied on. That same logic brought her to Scario, Italy, with a squeaky clean plan. Sell her mom's house, pocket the cash, and finally open her own clinic. That is, Feels, until Sebastian Biano, the heir to a Sicilian freaking crime family, crashed into her life. Now, just 2 weeks later, as she sinks into the abyss, logic is officially out the window. Feels. The only thing left was the image of Sebastian Biano's eyes, the phantom of his touch, and a single gut-wrenching question hammering her brain. Is he safe? For the first time ever, she'd let her guard down. For the first time, she followed her heart, Feels. And as the darkness swallowed her whole, she wasn't thinking about her life ending, but about the insane, wild truth of it all. Flashback to when Arya first stepped off that train in Scario, carrying the weight of the world. The flight, Feels, the train from Rome, all a blur. Then she saw it her mother's house, perched over the sea and totally falling apart. Shutters faded, roof tiles missing, weeds literally choking the front path. Feels. She swiped a piece of auburn hair from her face, trying hard not to look as disappointed as she felt. Rico Alfonsi, the real estate guy, was scratching his jaw. Signora Venti, sell now, you get maybe 600,000 euros. Venti, her mom's last name, Feels. Arya quietly corrected him. I'm Arya Ellis. Rico just nodded. Scusi, Signora Ellis. He puts up a finger. But rent it for 2 months. Use that cash to fix this dump. Then you can sell for 2 million. Maybe even more. Feels. Her spirits just tanked as she did the math. 2 months rent. That would cover the repairs. She could crash in the guest house, save money, flip it, and finally get her practice. Okay. She could make this work. Feels. The motel room reeked of bleach. Arya was on her laptop, staring at her friend Jennifer's face. I think I'm going to rent it out, Jen. Jennifer's eyebrows shot up to her hairline. Rent it out? You're broke. You can't afford repairs. Arya leaned in, Feels, trying to sell it. I know. But if I get a tenant for 2 months, I'll have enough. I'll just live in the guest house while they're here. Then I sell. Jennifer's face softened with worry. And your clients? Arya's jaw clenched. Feels. You know I'm done with Dr. Reynolds. I can see my clients online from here. Jen leaned closer, her voice dropping. Feels. Arya, are you sure you're safe there? You don't know anyone. She glanced out the window at the street below. It's cute. Who knows, maybe I have family around here. The look on Jen's face said it all. Not convinced. Honestly, neither was Arya. Feels. The phone blasted at 7:47 a.m., ripping her from a crappy night's sleep. Her heart hammered her ribs as she grabbed it. Signora Ellis, come quick, I have a tenant for you. 2 months. Arya was out the door, fast. Feels. She yanked on the nearest dress, shoved her feet in sandals, grabbed her keys. Her pulse was going crazy as she raced through the narrow cobblestone streets. Yesterday, she was too wiped to even really look at the house. Feels. Now she was about to hand the keys to a complete stranger. The iron gate was already open. Arya stepped into the overgrown garden, where the stone path was buried under tall grass. She was moving fast when her foot caught on something. Feels. The world went sideways. Her stomach dropped like a severed elevator cable, time stretching out as the ground flew up to meet her. But right before she ate dirt, strong arms wrapped around her waist, yanking her back from the brink. Feels. Her body totally short-circuited, a sharp gasp escaping as her hands landed flat against something solid. A deep warmth radiated through his expensive shirt, his heartbeat a steady, powerful drum under her palms. Her own pulse went wild. Feels. A frantic beat in her throat. A spark ignited where his hands gripped her. Feels. Her eyes dropped. Polished leather shoes, cheap and tailored linen pants with a gold buckle. Her gaze traveled up. And then bam, light green eyes locked with hers, sharp and unreadable, holding her prisoner. For a hot second, Feels. A whole conversation passed between them without a single word. He took in her face, her hazel eyes staring back the way her breath hitched. He had a trimmed beard, perfectly styled hair. A slow burn started deep in her belly. Feels. Her skin felt electric where his hands still were. At 5'5", she felt tiny and hyper-aware of how easily he'd just saved her. He murmured something in Italian, his voice low and smooth. "No Italiano," she squeaked out, barely a whisper. Feels. A hot flush of embarrassment crept up her neck. Her mom was Italian. She should have learned the language. His expression shifted, a flicker of what looked like amusement crossing his face. American. His English was flawless, basically no accent. Feels. She took a step back, suddenly desperate for some air. His eyes left hers, glancing at the house before snapping back to her face. "The house? You the owner?" Her voice finally came back as she tried to fix her wrinkled dress. "Yes, I am." Feels. Rico came jogging up, totally winded. "Senora Ellis, I see you've met my client." The guy's gaze drifted from Rico back to Arya, slow, deliberate, sizing her up with those stone-cold green eyes. "I hear you want to stay in the guest house." Feels. "If I rent this house, I don't want anyone else on the property." The sheer nerve of this guy. Her back went rigid. She opened her mouth to argue, but movement from the house stopped her cold. Two guys were walking out. They were huge, built like linebackers, Feels, with muscles that even their tailored suits couldn't hide. Her entire nervous system went on high alert. Her pulse kicked into overdrive, and one thought slammed into her brain: Mafia. Was this for real? I mean, this is Italy. Feels. She forced herself to look him in the eye again. "I don't rent to people without families." A little ghost of a smile played on his lips, like he was enjoying her pathetic attempt to regain control. "What makes you think I don't have a family?" Feels. He gestured casually to the two brutes. "They're my family." She forced a smile of her own. Feels. "I think you know exactly what I meant." Rico leaned in, his voice a panicked whisper. "Senora Ellis, Senor Biano, likes the house. 2 months. He is very serious." He took a breath. "And he is offering 80,000 euros. Feels. That number hit her like a ton of bricks. 80,000 euros for 2 months. She looked at him then, at those cold eyes that saw right through her, the arrogant stance, the gold ring, the two goons. That suit, made just for him. Feels. The hottest guy she had ever seen, and in that second, she hated his guts. Her answer came out, sharp and no, "I'm not accepting." Sebastian Biano had been staring out at the sea. He turned his head slowly. His eyes found hers. He raised one eyebrow, Feels, a flicker of interest. "So," he said, his voice quiet, "you're not accepting." Rico jumped in, lowering his voice. Feels. "Senora Ellis, can we have a private word?" Rico pulled her away from the others, his words tumbling out in a nervous rush. "Listen, no regular family is paying 80,000 euros for 2 months in a house that's literally crumbling." Feels. "I can find you a room somewhere. Or we could just offer to sell it to him now. He might go as high as 600,000. Arya's jaw was locked. "No, I won't sell for that." She glanced back at the three men who were now talking among themselves. Feels. Sebastian Biano's focus was on a small stone dock jutting into the sea. His bodyguard, Vince, shifted. "Boss, we could look at other places." Feels. "This one is in rough shape." Sebastian didn't even look away from the dock. "No, Vince, this is the one. It's a place no one will think to look for me." A hidden cove. He paused. "And that stone dock could be useful in an emergency. Plus the Venti house." Feels. "There's more to this place than you know." Then his eyes moved, landing on Arya as she marched back toward them, head high. His lips curved into a slight smirk. "Besides, I like her." Arya stopped right in his path and lifted her chin. "I'm sorry," Feels, "but I cannot accept your offer." Sebastian didn't even blink. 200,000 euros for 2 months, and I will have the interior of the house renovated. Arya's breath hitched. 200,000? Why would anyone on earth offer that much? Feels. Sebastian's gaze slid down her body and back up, a mocking smile on his lips. Feels. "I want this house, and I always get what I want." Arya felt her throat go dry. That kind of cash, she could fix the place up right, flip it for maybe 3 million. But she met his eyes, refusing to be intimidated. "I'm staying in the guest house." Feels. Sebastian just tilted his head. "Fine, far enough. I'm moving in today." The realtor looked like he was about to cry with relief, a massive grin splitting his face. "Fantastic, let's go sign the contract." At the office, they sat side by side, Feels, signing the rental agreement. As Arya scanned the paperwork, her eyes landed on Sebastian's birthday. 37, born in Sicily. She glanced over and caught him reading her file too. Feels. She snapped her eyes away, fast. He didn't. When she dared to look back, he was still staring, one eyebrow cocked with that smug, knowing smirk playing on his lips again. Arya stared back down at the forms, her jaw locked. The absolute nerve of this guy. Feels, she fumed. Later, Arya took a walk through town. Scario wasn't some polished tourist trap. It had grit, a soul. The turquoise water, the old buildings, the very air. She hit up the town hall, heels, asking about the name Venti, her mother's name. There weren't many, but she got a hit on one family and jotted down their address. A mission for later. That afternoon, she swung back by the house. From the gate, heels. She saw at least 7 or 8 guys already swarming the property, working like mad on both houses. A jolt of shock ran through her. Heels. So he's actually fixing it up, she thought. Still a cocky and possibly arrogant man, but apparently a man of his word. But inside the guest house, Sebastian was with his crew, Vince and Luigi. Just 2 of them. Put cameras there, Vince. On that stone dock, heels. I want a mechanism to lock down a boat. Cameras covering every inch of the exterior, too. We need to be ready for any attack, no matter how small. Luigi shifted on his feet. Boss, the Lamberts have no clue you're even breathing. Heels. It'll take them weeks to find us, minimum. Sebastian's voice dropped 10 degrees. I don't do chance, Luigi. We'll be strong enough to wipe them off the map in Sicily soon, but we prepare for everything. Vince cleared his throat. Heels. What about the girl, boss? She wasn't in the plan. You didn't even know she was here, right? A slow, calculated smile spread across Sebastian's face. For now, she's irrelevant. That smirk deepened. Actually, she could be useful. Good cover, heels. She adds a little flavor to the scene. He trailed off, his eyes going distant, already running the angles. I have plans for her. If she becomes a problem, she gets handled. The next day, Arya rolled up to the guest house with her suitcase. Inside, heels, it was immaculate. A little kitchen, a bedroom with a door opening straight to the sea, stone steps leading down to the busted dock, and a bathroom. 2 months here, she thought, dropping her bag. Heels. Through the sea-facing door, she saw 2 guys on the dock, planting bright flowers along the path. Arya went right outside. What are you doing? One of them stood up straight. The boss said to make it look beautiful. She just stared. Heels. Who in the world was he trying to impress? Arya did her best to settle into the tiny house. She had basically nothing, suitcase and her laptop. The first night was eerie, wrapped in a silence that was almost too deep. Through her window, heels, she could see the main stone house, a few dim lights glowing inside. She knew they were in there, Vince, Luigi, Sebastian. Was that supposed to make her feel safer or a million times more terrified? She was thousands of miles from home, heels, in a country she didn't know, renting her own house to a man who practically radiated danger. Heels. Smart? Not her finest moment. Her thoughts were a chaotic mess as she tried to sleep. The morning light was her alarm clock. Arya went to the water's edge. The view was insane. The Mediterranean stretching out forever under a pale blue sky. Heels. Her mother grew up right here before she got married and ran to America. Arya tried to picture her, a young girl running barefoot on these same stones, but her mom never talked about Scario. Not one word about this place, heels, or why she bolted and never looked back. Arya's eyes drifted up to the main house, and there he was, second-floor balcony. Sebastian, shirtless, his chest glistening with sweat as he laid into a punching bag hanging from the frame. Heels. His body was pure, hardwired muscle, all sharp lines and raw power, a machine built for violence. As if he could feel her watching, Zepsa stopped dead and looked straight down at her. He gave a lazy wave, impossibly cool, radiating confidence. Heels. A slow burn crawled up Arya's neck. She whipped her head away. Totally not my type, she muttered to the wind, trying to convince herself. Stay away from him. A few days drifted by. Arya found a rhythm. Online therapy clients in the morning, heels. Sunbathing in the afternoon, a walk into town now and then. She wasn't making friends and she didn't care. The quiet was nice. One afternoon, right in the middle of a video call, a deafening racket started up from the dock. Banging, drilling, heels. She cut the call short and went to see what the hell was going on. Heels. 2 guys were installing some massive metal rig on the stone dock. Arya's heart started hammering. Excuse me, you're making a ridiculous amount of noise. What even is that? Are you bringing a boat here? Heels. Because I seriously don't want a boat parked in front of my house. Luigi barely looked up, his face unreadable. Signorina, if the boss wants it, we do it. It's better for you if you don't ask so many questions. A few hours later, heels. Arya noticed the main house had gone dead silent. No one around. She'd seen the crew leave. The place looked totally abandoned. She found herself at the gate, just staring, talking herself into it. It was still her mom's house. Her house, really. Heels. How much trouble could one quick peek be? She walked up the path and pushed the heavy door open. Heels. Sebastian had cleared it out, but there was almost no furniture. The whole place felt empty, like it was holding its breath, and at the top of the grand staircase she saw it. A painting. Her mother's family, she realized instantly. There in the center, Heels, was a young girl with dark hair and hazel eyes. Her mom. Younger than Arya had ever seen her, maybe 15 years old, surrounded by people who must have been her family. Sebastian hadn't junked it. Arya paused. Heels. Then took a few steps up to get a better look. That's when she heard the footsteps. Her stomach dropped to the floor. She spun around. Sebastian was at the top of the landing, completely naked, water still dripping from his hair, Heels, making slow tracks down his neck, over his chest, and disappearing into the white towel he was, Heels. His skin was gleaming in the low light, every single muscle looking like it was carved from stone. Her eyes zeroed in on a drop of water making its way down his chiseled abs before she could snap them away, her face instantly catching fire. Heels. The air just vanished from her lungs. She was stuck, couldn't look away, couldn't move, couldn't even breathe. He didn't even bother to cover up, just stood there, watching her watch him. That little ghost of a smile played on his lips, Heels, like he knew exactly what he was doing to her. Then, painfully slowly, he wrapped a towel around his waist, knotting it like he couldn't care less. She spun around, face blazing. I just thought. Sebastian took all the time in the world, Heels, acting like this was totally normal. Heels. Why are you in my house? His voice was sharp, ice cold. This is my house. She heard him step closer, and then his hand was on her wrist. Not a rough grip, but solid, final. As long as I'm paying for it, it's mine. Arya's face burned. Heels. Her entire body went stiff as she yanked to get free. He didn't budge. Let go of me. If you're just going to waltz into my house uninvited, Sebastian said, his voice dropping low, then you're going to make me coffee. We're basically neighbors, Heels. Might as well get acquainted. No, we don't. But his grip on her wrist was still there. He just arched an eyebrow, waiting. A cold knot of dread started twisting in her gut. She had no clue who this guy was. Heels. She had absolutely no idea what he was capable of. Sebastian let her go. Arya didn't waste a second. She flew down the stairs and out the door, practically sprinting back to the guest house. What were you thinking going in there? Heels. She slammed the door behind her, heart trying to punch its way out of her chest. She threw her hair back, changed her clothes. She had to bail. Go somewhere safe. Somewhere with other people. She snatched her bag and yanked the door open. Heels. Sebastian was standing right there. He was wearing a white linen shirt and camel-colored pants, hair still damp and messy. He smelled like the ocean, clean and salty, but with a darker note underneath. Were you leaving without making me that coffee? Heels. He stepped inside before she could get a word out. Heels. Arya scrambled back 3 steps. Her body went on red alert way before her brain caught up. Sebastian's eyes scanned the tiny room, curious, small but charming. He leaned in a little, his gaze dropping to her neck, her collarbone. Smells nice in here too, Heels. Arya's pulse was hammering in her throat. This guy was too close, too confident, way too much of everything. She hated how good-looking he was. Hated that her body was reacting to him even when every alarm bell in her head was screaming run. Heels. Sebastian strolled to her kitchen counter and scowled. Wait, is that supposed to be a coffee maker? He looked genuinely horrified. How can you drink that garbage? Don't tell me you don't own a mocha pot. My coffee is just fine. Heels. He pulled out his phone and was already dialing. Luigi, bring me a mocha pot and some fresh espresso now. He never took his eyes off Arya. She rolled hers. I was actually just leaving. Sebastian pocketed his phone and started rolling up his sleeves. Heels. Before Arya could even think about stopping him, he'd lifted the small 2-person table from her kitchen and carried it right outside onto the stone dock. Then he brought out the chairs. He sat down, leaned back, and turned his face up to the sun. Heels. Arya followed him out, just standing there by the table, totally confused. When Sebastian looked back at her, the sun hit his eyes. Green, an insane green, like sea glass in the light. She just stared, completely mesmerized. Heels. They were the most gorgeous eyes she'd ever seen. Luigi appeared at the edge of the dock with a mocha pot and 2 little cups. He set them on the table without a word and was gone just as fast, his footsteps disappearing on the stone path. Heels. Sebastian took the pot and poured the dark espresso into both cups. The rich smell hit her immediately, way more intense than anything from her machine. He pushed one of the cups across the table to her. Arya sat down, her chair scraping against the stone. Heels. She wrapped her hands around the tiny cup, letting the heat sink in. So why are you two staying here for 2 months? Sebastian's smile came on slow. It was dark, dangerous, vacation. The word felt like a total lie hanging in the air. Heels. Arya clutched the small cup, its warmth a flimsy shield. Where are you from? Rome. Sebastian leaned back, looking perfectly relaxed, but his eyes were sharp as knives. Then he leaned forward slightly, his whole body aimed right at her. Heels. Why are you so far from home, Bella? Arya's mind flashed back to the rental papers. It had said Sicily, so why was he lying about Rome? Her grip on the cup got tighter. This was my mother's house. She left it to me. I came to fix it up before selling. Heels. Figured I'd stay for the summer. Sebastian lifted his cup, his eyes locked on hers. So the painting upstairs, that's your family. The Vendis. Heels. A hot flush crawled up her neck. How do you know that? He took a slow, deliberate sip from his cup before putting it down, his gaze fixed somewhere out on the water. I made it my business to know who owned the house. And just like that, Heels. Ice water flooded her veins. He had investigated her, her family, while she knew absolutely nothing about him. Sebastian finished his espresso, the cup hitting the saucer with a soft, final sound. Heels. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and something cracked behind the green of his eyes. That's coffee, Arya. Her name. The first time he'd said it, the way the vowels stretched, Heels, softened by that Italian accent, it did something to her she refused to admit. A traitorous pulse started up under her skin. Heels. She hated that she liked the way it sounded. Sebastian stood up, the chair scraping back. A smile touched his lips but didn't reach his eyes. They stayed hard, serious. Don't enter my house again, Bella. As he took a few steps toward the guest house, Heels, her voice stuck in her throat, finally escaped. The name was a mistake, a slip she couldn't take back, Sebastian. And with that one word, the formal wall she'd put up between them turned to dust. She had used his first name without even thinking. Heels. He stopped, turning his head just enough to look back at her, and his whole expression shifted. It was half surprise, half something warmer. That little curve returned to his mouth as she gestured vaguely at the water. Heels. I don't want a boat moored in front of my guest house. Sebastian's smile widened, a private, knowing look. Then he was gone, leaving her alone with an empty espresso cup and the lingering smell of the sea. Later that afternoon, Heels. Arya found herself at the town hall. The clerk at the counter looked up as she walked over, his face a perfect blank slate. She leaned on the counter, trying for a casual tone she definitely didn't feel. Heels. I'm trying to find information on a family with the surname Venti. The clerk's eyes narrowed. Why do you ask? She met his stare, refusing to back down. Because I'm a Venti. The man straightened up immediately and walked to an office in the back. Heels. She watched him lean over, whispering to another man. The second guy, older and wearing glasses, leaned forward to look straight at Arya. Heels. He gave a single curt nod. The clerk came back, scribbled on a piece of paper and slid it across the counter, an address. There is only one family left. Arya snatched the paper, her hand shaking slightly. Just one family. That was all that remained of them. Heels. The house was small, painted a pale yellow. Its shutters faded by years of sun and salt. Arya knocked. The door opened to a young woman, maybe a few years older than her, with long wavy hair and kind brown eyes. A woman who was beautiful without even trying. Heels. Arya took a deep breath. Hi, she started, then trailed off, suddenly lost. I think we might be distant cousins. I'm Laura Venti's daughter. The woman's eyes went wide, her lips parting in shock. Oh, Venti. Heels. She was my great-uncle's daughter, the one who had the stone house on the water. Without a second thought, she stepped out and pulled Arya into a surprising hug. I'm Margarita. 15 minutes later, they were in Margarita's garden, Heels, with small glasses of limoncello between them. Margarita leaned in, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I have an American cousin who is a psychologist. This is amazing. I have to show you everything. This weekend we go out. You're here for 2 months, Heels, right? We are going to make them count. Arya felt herself actually smile, a real one. Walking home later, she let herself hope that this summer, with this bright, cheerful woman, might actually be okay. Heels. But when Arya got back to the guest house, she saw them, instantly. Small, black cameras mounted on the corners of the main house, pointed at the garden, at the dock, at her. A tight pressure exploded in her chest. She pulled out her phone, Heels, stared at the screen for a long moment and dialed. The man renting my house. Who is he, really? Rose's voice was careful on the other end. A wealthy businessman, why? Her eyes shot back to the cameras. What kind of business? I do not know, Signora. Heels. He paid in cash. That is all I was told. Arya hung up. She stepped back outside, her eyes drifting from the pretty flowers along the path to the cold black lenses staring down from the main house. Heels. She stared at them forever. Just who are you, Sebastian Bianco? She breathed out. You're loaded, so why my house? Why bug the garden with cameras? Out on the water, a boat was slicing toward the dock. Sebastian was up front. Vince was steering, heels. The engine just a low rumble. Sebastian's eyes were glued to the cliffs. Tell my cousin Diego I'm here, he said, his voice cutting right through the noise. Vince shot him a look. You sure about that, boss? What if Diego's the rat? A slow heels. Ice-cold grin crept over Sebastian's face. I'm hoping he is. Vince's grip on the wheel went white, and if the Lombardos show up? Sebastian just kept staring at the shoreline at that stone house. Heels. Then we'll be ready for them. The sun was smearing itself across the sky, painting it all amber and pink. Arya had made dinner, just pasta, and popped open some wine. She was sitting at that little table Sebastian left by the dock, heels, her feet bare on the cool stone, holding her wine glass. The sea was huge and silent in front of her. For the first time since she got here, she almost felt peaceful. Then a low drone sliced through the quiet. A small boat, heels, just a dark shape in the fading light, was gunning it straight for her dock, getting bigger every second. A hot rage just exploded in her chest. Heels. I told him no boat here. The boat pulled up to the dock, just bobbing there. Vince killed the engine. Sebastian got out first, smooth and confident, like he owned the land, the sea, everything. Technically, he did for the next 2 months, heels, but that didn't give him the right to ignore her. Arya shot up, her chair scraping loud on the stone. She marched to the edge of the dock, her arms wrapped tight around her. He walked over with that same casual, sure-footed swagger, white shirt open, heels, sleeves rolled up. He looked like he just stepped off a yacht in Monaco, not some rental in a dead-end town. Heels. I said I didn't want a boat at my guest house. The words were way sharper than she planned. Sebastian didn't even answer. He just strolled right past her, went to her table, and picked up her glass of wine. He lifted it, took a long sip, heels, locking eyes with her the whole time. Then he put it down and grabbed the bottle, turning it over to read the label with a little smirk. Someone needs to teach you about wine, Arya. His voice was light, almost teasing. This is too dry, heels. You'd like something with more fruit. A bit of smoke, maybe. Heat flooded her face. Are you seriously ignoring me right now? Sebastian set the bottle down and just stared at her, taking in every last detail of her fury. Heels. I'll take you out on the boat sometime. There are some beautiful coves to see. And just like that, he turned and walked to the guest house door like the conversation was over. Arya's nails were digging into her palms so hard it hurt. You arrogant, heels. Self-absorbed. But he was already gone, Vince following right behind him. She was just left standing there, blood pounding in her ears, her hand shaking like she wanted to break something. Narcissist. That was it. A smug, heels. Unbearable narcissist who thinks the entire world is his personal playground. Inside the main house, Sebastian took the stairs to the second floor. Heels. He went down the hall to the last door on the right, the one he'd taken over on day one. The door clicked, sealing him in. The room was empty, all business, just a desk and a chair. But the walls? They were covered in screens, 6 of them, heels. Each one showed a different camera feed. The garden, the dock, the front gate, the driveway, and the guest house. Sebastian pulled out the chair and sat, his eyes jumping between the monitors. Most of them were still, showing nothing, heels. Then his eyes locked on the screen in the bottom right corner. Arya. She was in the bathroom. The camera angle was high up, not great, but he could see enough, heels. She was leaning over the old tub, turning on the water. Steam started to fill the air. She stood up, reached back, and yanked her shirt off over her head. Sebastian went completely still. She stepped out of her pants with a slow, easy grace. Heels. Then she got into the tub, sinking down until only her head was above water, leaning back against the porcelain. A slow smile curled on his lips as he whispered, "Interesting." He reached out and adjusted the camera angle, but it didn't show much more. Heels. It didn't need to. He'd seen exactly what he wanted. His voice was a low murmur, just for him. You're getting under my skin, Arya Ellis Venti. He tapped his fingers on the desk, eyes still glued to the screen. Heels. And you have no clue who your family really is, do you? The next morning, Arya sat on her bed with her laptop, looking at her third client of the day. When the call ended, she grabbed her notebook. Patient avoids eye contact when discussing control. Heels. Uses humor to deflect. Deep-seated fear of abandonment hidden by a competent facade. Arya stopped, tapping her pen against her lips. Her gaze drifted out the window to the blue outside. But she wasn't thinking about her patient, Heels. She was thinking about him. The way he just took her wine glass. The way he looked at her, like he already knew what she was going to say. Heels. The way he just turned and walked off, like her words were nothing. It didn't just sting, it made her feel invisible. So she flipped to a fresh page in her notebook. Her hand started moving on its own, scrawling his name at the top. Sebastian Biano, feels. And underneath, the clinical takedown started. He asserts total control of his physical space, invades personal proximity to dominate conflict, and dodges all verbal vulnerability. She just stared at the words. What was this? This wasn't professional, feels. It was something else. A knock at the door broke her out of it. Arya snapped the book shut, hiding the page, and went to answer. It was Margarita, holding out a tin of biscotti with a smile so real it almost hurt. A surprise. Feels. I thought you might like some company. Feels. Before she could even answer, the main house door creaked open. Sebastian came out with Vince and Luigi, wearing dark jeans and a black shirt that fit him perfectly. They started walking past the guest house toward the gate. Margarita turned. Oh my God, feels. Who is that? A cold, sick feeling washed over Arya. My tenant, Sebastian. It was like the wind carried his name right to him. He stopped, turned around, and started walking toward them with that same smooth grace. He started speaking in Italian, feels, his voice warm, his smile bigger and more real than any she'd gotten. Margarita replied in a rush of Italian, nervously brushing her hair back. Sebastian said something else, and Margarita's laugh just bloomed, bright and happy. Feels. And Arya just stood there, arms crossed, watching a scene she couldn't understand but knew exactly what was happening. It was in the way Margarita leaned toward him, like a plant to the sun. The way Sebastian's eyes never left her face, how easily he smiled, feels no calculation behind it. Arya's own hand went to the back of her neck, her fingers tangling in her hair. She caught herself and yanked her hand down, but it was too late. He'd seen. A sharp, ugly knot of tension formed in her neck and shoulders, feels. Was he flirting with her? Why was this version of him so different, so open? A weird pressure started building behind her eyes. Am I jealous? No. That's ridiculous. Why would I ever be jealous? For a split second, feels. Sebastian's eyes flicked away from Margarita and landed right on Arya. Feels. His gaze dropped, following the path her hand just made, lingering on her defensive stance the way she was leaning away, and his whole expression for a second. It wasn't anger. It was a mix of amusement and this quiet, sharp satisfaction. He knew, feels. He turned back to Margarita, switching to English. We should do this again sometime. Margarita was practically glowing. I'd love that. Sebastian gave one last nod and walked off, Vince and Luigi right behind him. Arya watched him go, feels, a raw buzz of anxiety under her skin. Margarita turned back to her, still beaming. He's magnificent. You never told me he was that gorgeous. Arya had to force a smile. I guess I hadn't noticed. 20 minutes later, they were by the water, feels, drinking tiny glasses of limoncello in the sun. Feels. Margarita took a sip, then put her glass down, like smile fading into silence one time, as a girl. Arya looked at her. You did? Margarita nodded slowly. It scared us. My father always said my great-uncle, Mattia Venti, feels, was a very dangerous man. She paused, watching Arya's face for a reaction. Arya blinked. Oh, I don't really know anything about the family. Margarita watched her, a curious line between her eyebrows. How can you not know about your own mother's family? Feels. Did she never talk about them? Arya just shook her head. Not once. We never came here. Margarita's look softened into something like pity. The story I heard is that your mother fell in love with an American and just ran, feels. My great-uncle Mattia had for her to marry into a powerful Sicilian family. She refused, feels. And just like that, she was gone. Margarita stops cold. See, Mattia had, back in Sicily, the kind you don't mess with. My own father was terrified of the guy. Arya felt the air get sucked out of her lungs. So what happened to them, feels? My mother's family? Margarita's face shuts down. Look, I don't have the full story. Nobody does. It's the one thing nobody ever talks about. You bring it up, the whole room goes dead silent. Arya just nods, a million questions buzzing in her brain. Feels. What about your parents? Where are they? And Margarita's smile just evaporates. Car accident. I was just a kid. My brother raised me. He's in Rome now. Said the Venti name was a straight-up curse and he wanted out. A totally clean slate. Feels. She stares off into the distance. But me, I love this place. Feels. I've been doing my own thing for 4 years now. She snaps her attention back to Arya. All I want is to find a hot Italian guy and settle down. Her eyes get that sparkle back. Your tenant. He's a total smoke show. You into him? Arya's denial is instant. Feels. Way too fast. Absolutely not. He's so not my type, Margarita. He's the kind of guy you run from, not to. But Margarita just gives this soft, all-knowing laugh. Oh, Arya. Dudes like that. They're packed with passion. Feels. We don't really get guys like that around here anymore. She leans in a bit. If you're not making a move, someone else will. Count on it. Arya forces a smile, but the image of Margarita and Sebastian together churns something real ugly in her gut. Feels. Later that day, Arya's got another client, a 40-something woman with perfect makeup and a massive diamond still on her ring finger. Feels. So, check it out. Our girl Arya is a therapist, and she's listening to this patient who's been cheating on her husband for 6 months. The husband? A nice guy, but a total doormat. The lover? A psycho-control freak. The patient is trapped. As the video call ends, Arya starts writing notes. And get this, she's not just diagnosing her patient. Power has become a substitute for desire. She's basically staring at a mirror of her own messed up life, and she knows it. Feels. She finishes the clinical notes, all detached totally by the book. Then she draws a line under the word power, flips the page, and boom, his name. Sebastian. She's been writing about him for days. Uses touch as a tool of dominance. Feels. Refuses all verbal vulnerability. Then she adds tonight's entry. Cold effect. Abrupt boundary violation. But here's the kicker. Instead of seeing red flags, she writes that it feels like life. She's asking herself why his control feels like safety. Feels. Not a prison. Bro, that's the whole problem. Feels. This is a major no-no. She never lets cases get personal, but this one is hitting way too close to home. The parallel is just staring her in the face. So what does she do, Slams? The notebook shut like it's cursed and starts cleaning in her desk, trying to force order on the absolute chaos brewing in her head. Her breathing is calm. Her posture is perfect. It's a total lie. She knows she's just burying the problem, pretending it'll go away. Yeah, good luck with that. Feels. From her window, she can see his stone house, and she's trying so hard not to look. The night is ridiculously hot. Arya's just sitting on a dock in a black swimsuit, feet dangling over the water. She's been there for 20 minutes. Feels. Trying to forget her life in Detroit. Her mind drifts to her mom, another ice queen. Cold, controlled, never let anyone get close. Arya remembers seeing other girls with their moms, all happy and close, and just feeling this massive, empty hole inside. Feels. Her dad died when she was 13, a heart attack. Her mom didn't even cry, just kept on going. Feels. Thinking about her dad now just makes her feel this heavy, sad pity. The guy spent his entire life chasing a woman who didn't want to be caught. A passive man. And surprise, surprise, Arya's had exactly 2 relationships, and they both imploded the same way. She couldn't let them in. The thought hits her like a ton of bricks. Maybe I'm just like my mother. Maybe she's just broken. The air feels thin. So she does the most logical thing, right? She slides right into the freezing cold lake. Feels. She just lets herself sink, deeper and deeper into the black. And silence, finally. The noise in her head just stops. The weight on her chest vanishes. For the first time in forever, it's quiet. It's peaceful. Feels. The surface feels a million miles away, and honestly, she has zero desire to go back. Was this the real reason she came here? To run from herself? She helps people fix their heads all day, but she's got no clue how to fix her own. Her lungs are screaming. Feels. Vision's going fuzzy. And then splash. Something breaks the surface right above her. Her eyes snap open. Feels. A shape is moving toward her in the dark. Hands grab her waist, pull her against a hard body, and drag her up. A flash of green eyes, and then they break the surface. Arya's choking, gasping for air. It's Sebastian. His arms like his inches from hers, and his eyes are absolutely burning. What the hell were you doing? His voice is raw, furious. Were you trying to kill yourself? Arya shoves him off. What? No. I needed some quiet. I wasn't trying to off myself. Feels. Seriously, where did this guy even come from? She swims for the dock, but her arms feel like jelly. She can't pull herself up. Then his hands are on her hips again. Sebastian lifts her onto the pier like she weighs nothing, but he stays in the water. Feels. Planting his hands on either side of her thighs, trapping her between his arms, positioning himself right between her legs. Total power move. She can't even look at him. Swimming after dark isn't wise, Arya, he murmurs. She just stares at the horizon. Feels. Are you spying on me? How did you even know I was here? A corner of his mouth ticks up. Feels. Heard a sound. Assumed someone fell in. She finally looks at him. Water's dripping down his face. His dark shirt is plastered to his chest. Or you watched it on one of the cameras you've installed everywhere. Why is this place bugged? He just shrugs. Feels. Completely ignoring the fact that he's between her legs. I have money. People try to steal things. It's a problem here. His eyes lock on hers. You ought to be more cautious yourself. Arya's smile is pure acid. I have nothing anyone would want to steal. Feels. Sebastian's hand moves, his fingers brushing her thigh as he picks something off her skin. Seaweed. Feels. His thumb grazes her leg for just a second too long. Then he pulls back. You're here, he whispers. Someone could decide they want to take you. That's it. Heat floods her face. She pulls her legs back and storms toward the guest house without a look back. Feels. But she feels it. His eyes on her back, on her legs, on her hips. The feeling of being watched doesn't go away. It's like he's already claimed her. Inside, she grabs a towel, but the door creaks open behind her. She knows exactly who it is. Please go. Feels, she says, her voice rocks steady. I believe we had an agreement about private space. Feels. He says nothing. She just hears his footsteps getting closer. And then his hand shoots out, grabs it in one move, rips it right out of her hands. Arya stumbles back against the wall, completely shocked. He closes the distance in a heartbeat. He braces his arms on the wall, trapping her. He is so damn close, his wet clothes basically glued to his muscles. Her swimsuit feels like tissue paper. His voice is low, controlled. Just making things even. Feels. You saw me when I was completely exposed, didn't you? A blush creeps up her neck. She's caged, soaked, and wearing next to nothing, and this guy is looking at her like he already owns her. Don't ever do that again. His eyes pin her down. Feels. You could have blacked out in there. And then his lips are on her neck, just a ghost of a touch. His breath is hot against her skin. I can feel everything you're trying to hide. Her stomach clenches. Her knees go weak. But she pushes back, feels, shoves his chest with everything she's got. He actually steps back, but his eyes never leave her face. Not for a second. Feels. She snatched the towel and yanked it around herself, her voice dripping ice. Seriously, Sebastian, what are you doing here? A smirk played on his lips as he gave a little shrug. A test. I was looking for Margarita, actually. That hit like a ton of bricks. Feels. Her jaw went rigid and pure cold fury coated her words. Well, obviously, she's not here. I can get you her number if you're that desperate. In a flash, Sebastian erased the space between them, his voice dropping low. She's not the one I'm interested in. Feels. Before she could even blink, his arms were under her legs, scooping her off the floor in one possessive, non-negotiable move. Feels. Her back slammed into the wall as her legs reflexively locked around his waist. And then his mouth was on hers. This wasn't some gentle kiss. Nope, this was a demand for every last thing she had. For a split second, she was frozen solid in shock. Feels. But then her body just hijacked the controls, kissing him back with a raw, desperate hunger that absolutely terrified her. A wild, animalistic sound ripped out of her throat, and she hated herself for it. His lips blazed a trail from her mouth to her jaw. Feels. Then down her neck, settling in the hollow as he breathed against her skin. You are driving me completely insane. She felt it all. The insane heat exploding between them, the raw strength in his grip. Feels. The way his breathing started to match her own frantic rhythm. Feels. Her mind was just a high-pitched scream of nope, but her body had already thrown in the towel. She barely choked out the word through the haze that had totally swamped her brain. Stop! He didn't budge, didn't let up on the sensory overload for a second. Feels. His mouth still plastered to her skin like he heard nothing. Stop, I'm serious. He finally lifted his head, his eyes locking onto hers, his face still just a few inches away. She was still in his arms, still pinned, still fighting for air. Feels. Your body is telling me a completely different story, Arya. A jolt of pure rage sliced through the fog, shattering the entire moment. She slammed her hand flat against his chest and shoved. Put me down now. He slowly lowered her back to the floor. Feels, his stare never once leaving hers. Feels. The instant her feet hit the ground, that ghost of a smile was back on his face. Her hand had a mind of its own, acting on an impulse older than thought. The crack of the slap echoed in the tiny room. That's for touching me without asking. Feels. Sebastian just held up his hands, taking 2 steps back. The smile didn't even flicker. If anything, it got wider. Arya fixed the swimsuit strap that had slid off her shoulder, her fingers still trembling. Stay the hell away from me. Feels. Don't come into my house again. I am not interested in you. He just tilted his head, watching her. Are you really sure about that? Fury practically boiling over. You're arrogant, entitled. Feels. You think you can just have whatever you want. And when I call you a narcissist, I'm not just throwing words around. I'm giving you a professional diagnosis. Feels. I don't get involved with guys like you. Sebastian actually laughed, a deep, real laugh. A psychologist. His voice went low again. Are you sure you're talking about me? You might want to take a good long look in the mirror sometime. Feels. He turned and started for the door, his steps totally unhurried. He paused in the doorway, a dark silhouette against the night. "Lock your door." And just like that, he was gone. Arya stood there in the deafening silence, struggling to breathe, heels, her heart trying to hammer its way out of her chest. She whispered it to the empty space. "I lost control. That can't happen." Her mind was spinning. How did she let him do that? She was stronger than him, smarter, heels more. Her thoughts crashed to a halt as the truth hit her like a tidal wave of ice. Heels. One part of her brain refused to see it, but another part, the part that scared her half to death, knew exactly what Sebastian was talking about. Midnight. Sebastian stood under the shower until the water ran ice cold. Heels. He tied a robe around his waist and headed downstairs. Luigi was in the kitchen. Vince was chilling in the living room. Neither dude even glanced up as he took another set of stairs down. The basement steps groaned under his weight. At the bottom, a long, narrow tunnel stretched out in front of him. He walked right through it, not even hesitating, until he hit the far wall. To his right, a small wooden box. He flipped it open. Inside, a keypad glowed with a faint green light. Sebastian punched in the code. Heels. The wall groaned, dropping dust as it split down the middle and swung wide open. The room inside smelled like old, stale time. Paintings were stacked against every wall. Sebastian walked past them, stopping at the biggest canvas, Heels, grabbing the frame and yanking it aside. Behind it, a safe. He pressed his thumb to the scanner. A soft click. Inside, weapons were laid out on velvet, displayed in neat little brackets. 50 of them, maybe more. He picked out a Beretta, checked the mag, Heels, and slipped the gun into his pocket. His attention then shifted to the wall next to the safe. A massive family tree was painted on old parchment. At the very top was the name Venti. His finger traced a line down. Mattia Venti, deceased. Heels. Below him, Ora Venti, deceased. And under her name, Arya Ellis Venti, alive. A slow, wicked smile spread across his face as a deep feeling of satisfaction settled over him. He turned, walking back the way he came, the cool, Heels. Heavy gun, a reassuring presence in his pocket. He paused at the top of the stairs, his hand resting on the cold stone. His gaze drifted back towards that secret room, towards that name written in elegant script. "What am I supposed to do with you?" Heels. "Arya Venti," he murmured into the shadows. The next evening, Margarita managed to drag Arya out of the house before she could cook up some excuse. Arya was rocking a white bikini top under a long, flowy skirt, her hair in a loose braid over one shoulder. Heels. The sun had darkened her tan, making her hazel eyes seriously pop. Copper strands in her hair glittered in the last bits of daylight. Heels. She glanced back at the stone house, her eyes sweeping over the dark, empty windows. No Sebastian. A huge wave of relief hit her, a feeling she decided not to dig into too deeply. Scario Square was already starting to get packed when they arrived. Heels. The stone under their feet was still warm from the day's sun. Strings of yellow lights were crisscrossed between buildings, low on lemon trees rustling in the wind. The air smelled like salt, strong coffee, fried dough, Heels, and limoncello all mixed together, and then the music kicked in. A mandolin started things off, super bright and fast, and a second later a rich accordion sound joined in. A tambourine jumped in with a solid driving rhythm, Heels, and a violin just weaved through the whole thing, tying it all together, Heels. In Scario, music wasn't just some background noise, it was the town's actual heartbeat. The women hit the dance floor first, their bright skirts and flat shoes slapping a sharp beat on the old stone. An old couple joined in, Heels, the man propping his cane against a wall to take his wife's hand, which got a round of applause. Margarita grabbed Arya's wrist. "You don't just watch in Italy, you dance." Arya physically recoiled. All those people, the noise, Heels, the bodies moving together. This was so not her scene. She started to refuse, but the music got louder, faster. Margarita just laughed and gave her a little shove. And then, somehow, Arya was laughing too, a wild, out-of-control sound, Heels. She fumbled through the steps, totally clumsy at first, before her body just found the beat. Her braid came undone. Her cheeks were flushed. She was totally out of breath, but she could not stop smiling. Heels. She was right in the middle of a spin, her skirt flying out in a flash of color, and that's when she saw him. Sebastian. He was just standing there at the edge of the piazza, looking like he'd materialized straight out of the evening shadows. Heels. Dark linen shirt, a couple buttons undone at the top, showing off his tanned neck. His green eyes soaked up the yellow lamplight, sharp and crazy intense. And he had this look on his face, this faint, Heels, controlled amusement that just sucked all the air right out of her lungs. Her rhythm completely shattered. Her feet froze. For what felt like the first time in forever, her mind had been totally, blissfully empty. Now it was filled with nothing but him, heels. A weird shift went through the crowd near him. Conversations just died. A woman's laugh got cut short. Someone stepped aside, then another, a path just clearing like some unspoken command had been given. Heels. The music didn't stop, but the entire vibe of the night had changed. He started walking, moving into the square. People weren't scared of him. It wasn't like that. But they gave him a wide berth anyway. Heels. The way a river flows around a rock that's too big to move. A table of guys drinking espresso went dead silent as he got close. One of them mumbled something. Another put a warning hand on his buddy's arm. But Sebastian's eyes never left her. Heels. An old man by the fountain stood up a little straighter and gave him a single sharp nod. Sebastian nodded back, a silent exchange that said everything. A greeting between kings. A show of respect earned by something you couldn't see. Heels. He just kept walking, totally unhurried, like he owned every single cobblestone under his feet. Heels. Arya yanks her eyes away, trying to get back into the rhythm, trying to match Margarita's vibe, but it's too late. Tension City. Her heart is hammering. She can feel his stare on her like a 10-ton weight, and it is crushing her. Even without looking, Heels. She knows the exact second he freezes. She's in a spin when their eyes lock across the whole party. Skirt flying, braid whipping over her shoulder, head thrown back laughing with Margarita. She has zero clue what she's doing to him. Just so completely, feels, devastatingly alive. And for him, the world just shuts off. Music, chatter, footsteps. Gone she turns again, the last bit of sunset catching her hair like it's on fire, and Sebastian just stops breathing. Feels. This is not the woman who stood shaking and pissed off in the rain at his front door. Feels. And she is nothing like the shrink who takes him apart with that quiet, dead-eyed stare. This Arya is raw, unlocked. She's some kind of beautiful, wild thing that wakes up something ancient and nasty deep in his gut. He starts moving again, feels, carving a line straight to the edge of the dance floor. His presence is a ripple in the pond. A wife looks up, a kid dodges him. Margarita spots him first. Her eyes go wide, then this slow, all-knowing smirk spreads across her face. Feels. She whispers something to her friend, then holds out a hand to Sebastian. No hesitation. And he steps into the dance like he owns the whole damn thing. Arya's head whips toward them before she can stop herself. She's never seen anybody move like that. Heels. The guy moves with this slick confidence, like the music is coming straight out of him. His hand claims Margarita's waist with total expertise, spinning her perfectly. Heels. His whole body aimed at her with an intensity that starts building some insane pressure in Arya's chest. Her hands ball into fists, knuckles white. A voice in her head is screaming at her to look away, find something, anything else to focus on. Heels. Don't look. Don't, but her eyes are total traitors. They're glued to the show as Margarita laughs, head thrown back while Sebastian dips her low. His arm takes her weight like she's a feather, his other hand planted firmly on her back. Heels. Whistles and cheers erupt. When he pulls her up, she's glowing, breathless, and leans in, way too close to whisper a secret in his ear. Heels. Sebastian's face is a total mask, but he tilts his head just enough to show he's listening. And then Margarita kisses his cheek, a slow, deliberate performance for the whole crowd. Her hand stays on his chest a second too long before she finally backs off, Heels, her eyes burning with a wide-open invitation. A white-hot blade shoots through Arya's ribs, so sharp it just steals her breath. She rips her gaze away, pretending to be fascinated by some lemon trees. Her breathing gets all shallow. Heels. The words become a desperate chant in her head. It means nothing. I don't care. She can have him. Margarita backs away, fanning herself like a drama queen. And just like that, the crowd becomes a circle. In the middle, under the lights, Heels, are Arya and Sebastian staring each other down. The music starts again. Only now it's faster, meaner. Heels. He closes the gap in 2 long strides, then just stops and holds out his hand, palm up. It's not an invitation. It's a challenge. Dance with me. I dare you. Arya's heart is trying to beat its way out of her chest. She could walk away. Heels. She should absolutely walk away. Instead, her hand lands in his. His fingers close around hers with a gentle but final grip. This dance isn't some soft, romantic number. It's all sharp moves and fast turns. Heels. Their bodies circling each other like 2 planets in a death spiral. He leads without forcing. Every move is brutally precise, his hand an anchor when she needs it. When Arya stumbles, thrown by the sheer speed, a surprised laugh bursts out of her. Heels. The corner of his mouth twitches. The music kicks into overdrive. Heels. Arya just stops thinking. She lets go. She just moves. spinning, her skirt flying out, her hair a wild curtain slapping her face. She almost wipes out, but Sebastian's hand shoots out and grabs her wrist. Feels. His thumb presses down on the frantic beat of her pulse for one single, burning second before he lets go. It was calculated, it was impossible to ignore. Their eyes lock, hold, and the entire world just seems to stretch and slow down. Her chest is heaving. Feels. So is his. The violin shrieks, dragging them along. Sebastian's hand finds the small of her back to guide her into a turn, his palm a brand through the thin fabric of her shirt. When she spins back around, they're inches apart. Not even touching, feels, but she can feel the solid wall of his chest like a magnet. Feels. The heat just rolling off him, his sheer size, the way the air gets electric and thin whenever he's close. And then the music just cuts out. A wave of applause rushes into the void. But they're still frozen, feels, trapped in that quiet space between the last note and the noise of the world. Arya's heart is going nuts. She looks up at him, trying to breathe, trying to think, trying to remember all the reasons. This is a terrible, terrible idea. He's looking right back, feels. Not at the crowd, not at anyone, just her. And for the first time, out in the open for everyone to see, they just stand there, seeing each other, like the entire town square just blinked out of existence. His breath hitches, perfectly in sync with hers. Feels. A piece of dark hair falls across his forehead. Feels. She gets this crazy urge to just reach up and brush it back. Her fingers literally twitch before she forces them down. Warning bells are screaming in her head. This is dangerous. You are losing. Your grip. Her thoughts are a total train wreck. Yesterday, feels, she slapped this man across the face. Yesterday, his mouth was on hers, his hands lifting her like she was nothing, his voice a rough promise against her skin. And tonight, she's laughing in his arms, pretending any of this is normal. Feels. Her skin is still burning where his hand was. The realization hits her like a bucket of ice water. You are losing yourself, Arya. She turns a sudden jerky move and bolts for Margarita's table, feels, collapsing into a chair and grabbing the limoncello before she's even sat down. Feels. A sly little smile plays on Margarita's lips. I thought you didn't like him, cousin. Total mischief in her eyes. Just look at you. You're practically glowing. Arya scoffs, trying to keep her voice from shaking. It would have been rude not to dance. Feels. He's just my tenant. But her eyes are traitors, flicking away from her cousin. Sebastian is by the bar, a dark, still figure in the middle of all the chaos. Someone hands him a glass. He takes it without looking, his gaze already sweeping the crowd. Feels. And then his eyes find hers, a laser beam straight across the plaza. No smile, no nod. He doesn't look away, neither does she. The space between them pulls tight, humming like a high-voltage wire. Feels. Arya feels that kick in her pulse again, a slow burn creeping up her neck. She's the first to break eye contact, turning back to Margarita with a fake L intensity. Margarita leans in close, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. Sweetheart, feels. If you're really not interested, then I'm gonna need your blessing to take him home. She glances over at the bar, biting her lip. I mean, look at him. The shoulders on that man, those hands. She fans her face for dramatic effect. Feels. I need to know what those hands feel like. Blood roars in Arya's ears, a hot, vicious wave. She grabs the limoncello and throws it back, the burn a welcome shock to the system. If only Margarita knew those hands had already been on her just last night, feels. If she had any idea how they felt pinning her to a wall, or how his thumb had traced the panic at her throat during their dance, how the heat of his palm had burned right through her dress, like it wasn't even there, feels. Do whatever you want, Margarita. Arya forces herself to look at anything but the bar, anywhere but at him. I'm not interested. The lie feels gross and heavy on her tongue, way more bitter than the booze. Arya shoves her chair back. Margarita gets up, feels, slinging her purse over her shoulder. I can give you a lift, cousin. You sure you don't want one? I'm sure. Arya fakes a smile. It's a 10-minute walk. I need the air. Margarita leans over, her lips warm on Arya's cheek. The simple gesture throws her off, feels. She's only known her cousin for 2 weeks. But Margarita has already made a space for herself in her life that Arya has no idea what to do with, feels. It's not that the kindness is a bad thing, it's that accepting it feels like speaking a foreign language. Okay, Bella, Margarita's smile is dazzling as she looks past her, across the square. I will see you soon. Arya stands there, frozen, feels, watching her cousin start moving toward the bar, where Sebastian is a dark silhouette against the chaos. Every single swing of Margarita's hips is a question he's supposed to answer. Her hand slides up his arm. He murmurs something. She laughs, feels, leaning her entire body into his personal space. Before the next act of this disaster can play out, Arya turns on her heel and walks away. She shuts the door to the guest house, pressing her hands flat against the cool wood, heels, like she can physically hold the world out. The ocean is out there, a whisper through the walls, but for the first time it brings her zero peace. The image just keeps playing on a loop, heels. So Arya sees Sebastian dancing with some chick named Margarita, his hand all possessive on her back, and boom. Full-on jealousy mode activated. Her heart is going nuts. This shouldn't be a thing. She stomps to the kitchen, yanks open a cabinet, heels, and grabs the first bottle she sees. Yep, the same cheap red wine Sebastian made fun of her for buying. She goes to town on that corkscrew like it personally offended her. Get out of my head, you arrogant bastard, too late, heels. He's already living there rent-free. He's in the crappy wine, in the phantom heat on her skin from his touch, in the memory of his hand owning her. And then a flashback to her mom's voice, sharp and nasty. Heels. You're just like me. Cold. Shut down. You don't let anyone in because you've no idea how. So Arya pours way too much wine into a regular glass and plops onto the couch. She needs a distraction stat. Grabs some book, something about egos, whatever. Heels. She curls up by the window, staring out at the black-on-black ocean and sky. Sip of wine. Read a sentence. Another sip. Her eyelids feel like they're made of cement. The glass starts to slip, and that's when she hears it. A faint scrape metal on wood. Heels. Her eyes snap open. She puts the glass down, listening hard. Nothing. Just the house breathing and the ocean doing its thing. And her brain serves up the only possible answer. Sebastian. Heels. But hold up, that makes zero sense. He's with Margarita, probably pulling her onto his lap and giving her the same fire he gave Arya yesterday. Ugh. The thought makes her sick. She gets up, scanning the shadows of the tiny cottage. Kitchen, living room, bed, heels. Bath. It's all one space and nothing's out of place. The noise happens again, definitely from the back. Arya slides open the glass door to the dock. She unlocks it, steps out. The little boat is right there, tied up, totally empty. She lets out a breath, heels. Okay, she's just being paranoid and tired and jealous. That's all. She turns to go back inside and the entire world goes silent, heels. The crickets? Gone. The sound from the town? Vanished. All that's left is the water and her own breathing. Behind her, the boat creaks, the only sound in a dead world. And that's when the alarm bells in her spine start screaming. Heels. That primal lizard brain instinct that knows you're about to die. She takes one single step, and a hand clamps down onto her throat. Her body just explodes, pure reflex. Feet are off the dock, hands clawing at the wrist, crushing her windpipe. Heels. But his grip is iron. A total vice. No air, no scream. Nothing. Through the holes in his mask, she sees his eyes, and there's nothing there, just black holes. Then he hits her. Heels. The impact is like lightning, a white-hot flash that just deletes her vision. Pain detonates in her jaw. Her brain is screaming orders. Move, fight, do something. But her body isn't listening. The pressure on her throat gets even tighter. Heels. Her lungs are on fire. The world starts shrinking, blackness closing in. Letterg, the voice, slices through the darkness from behind the attacker, low and terrifyingly calm. It freezes the damn air. The guy doesn't let go. He twists, heels, dragging Arya with him like a human shield. The blurred chaos, she sees him. Sebastian. Gun up, face a mask of pure cold rage, and then the world just fades to black. Arya comes back in pieces, heels, feeling strong arms carrying her like she weighs absolutely nothing. Heels. Her throat is throbbing, and her jaw feels like it's on fire. She hears Sebastian's voice snapping out commands in Italian, sharp as a whip. Vince replies from somewhere close. The sound of footsteps on stairs, and then she's out again, heels, swallowed by the darkness. When she wakes up, it's the pain that greets her, a deep crushing ache in her throat. Her lip is split and swollen. She tries to lift a hand to check out the damage, but another hand catches her wrist real gentle. Don't, heels. Sebastian's voice is a low murmur right next to her. She forces her eyes open. He's sitting on the bed, inches away, holding a cotton ball with some ointment. She tries to say something, but all that comes out is a raw, painful croak. Don't talk, heels. He puts the cotton down, his thumb brushing her good cheek. Your lip is split. This will sting, heels. The ointment hits her raw skin like a bolt of fire. She flinches hard, can't help it. Sebastian's face just hardens. I know, I'm sorry. The words are quiet, but his tone has this tiny crack in it, like something broke. Arya just lets her eyes close, heels. This wasn't just a punch. The pain dug way deeper, violating a part of her she didn't even know existed. She'd never been hit, ever. Never felt a shock like this settle into her bones, making it impossible to think straight. He presses an ice pack to her neck, heels. His other hand comes up to cradle the back of her head, holding her steady against the intense cold. You took a beating, Arya, feels. I'm sorry I wasn't there sooner. He grabs a pill and some water from the nightstand, holding it right up to her lips. You need to take this. She tries to shake her head, but he just gets closer, his eyes locking on hers, so intense you can't look away. Feels. It's for the pain. Trust me. That word. Just hanging there between them, loaded with everything they haven't said. Trust. Before she can argue, he presses the pill right past her lips. She wants to spit it out, to shove him off. Feels. But every single muscle is screaming no, so she swallows. Sebastian stands up, his fingers already working the buttons on his shirt. Through droopy eyelids, she watches him shrug it off, feels, revealing a chest and shoulders that look like they were carved from stone. Feels. He turns his back, steps, feels. Arya wakes up and she's drowning in warmth. It's heavy, everywhere, you can't miss it. Sebastian's arm is a dead weight across her stomach, his hand spread possessively on her hip. She can feel his chest rising and falling against her back, feels his breath on her neck. Then it all comes crashing back. The attack, the hands, the dark. Her brain snaps to high alert. She moves in agonizing slow motion, carefully lifting his arm off her and setting it down. He doesn't even flinch. She sits up, heels, her head spinning as she scopes out the room. This is not her room. Massive windows show the ocean stretching out forever. Way down below, her little guest house looks tiny and defenseless. She glances down at herself, feels. Her white bikini top and skirt from last night, folded neatly at the foot of the bed. She's in nothing but her underwear. A hot blush creeps up her neck as she snatches her clothes, her fingers fumbling. Every time she swallows, feels. It's a fresh shot of pain in her throat, her jaw one constant dull ache. She has to see. The mirror's on the other side of the room. When she finally makes herself look, the air just punches out of her. Her bottom lip is a little swollen, feels. A tiny cut right at the corner, but her neck, oh God. Dark, bruised fingerprints are pressed deep into her skin. They're black, bleeding into a sick-looking purple around the edges. No denying what that is, feels. A crushing weight builds in her chest, and her vision starts to black out, feels. This wasn't some nightmare. Someone actually tried to kill me suddenly, hands grip her arms. Arya. It's Sebastian's voice, a solid anchor in all the chaos. Come here, look at me. She tries to pull away, but he just turns her to face him. He's shirtless, feels. Sweatpants hanging low, those green eyes laser-focused. Breathe, he orders. In through your nose, out through your mouth. She does it, without even thinking. Once, twice. The panic starts to retreat as his thumbs rub slow, calming circles on her arms. Feels. You were attacked, he says, like it's a fact from a textbook. But you're safe now. Her own voice is a wrecked whisper. That man, who was he? Sebastian's face goes completely blank, like a stone mask. When he finally answers, his voice is cold and final. Feels. We handled it. Feels. His words hung in the air, cold and final. Arya yanked her arm out of his grasp, putting distance between them that he didn't bother to close. A sick feeling twisted in her gut. That dead calm voice of his was all wrong. Feels. Totally out of sync with the violence she just survived. What do you mean, we handled it? What the hell is that, Sebastian? He just stared her down with those blank eyes. It means he's not a problem anymore. It means you're safe. Feels. Her eyes blew wide as the horrifying reality clicked into place, her mind filling in the ugly gaps he left. Did you call the cops? Is he arrested? Is he... Sebastian didn't even blink. I told you, he said. We handled it. She stumbled back another step. Feels. The bruises on her neck screaming with every panicked beat of her heart. Feels. Who was that guy? Why was he after me? What the hell is going on? His voice was a rock of pure, infuriating calm. That's not important right now. He shifted his weight, just a little, but it screamed coiled up readiness. What's important is you're safe, feels. And you're not going anywhere. Her nails bit into her own palms. You don't get to decide that. You can't just lock me up and give me orders. Who do you think you are? That's when he started walking toward her, each step slow, deliberate. You know who I am, feels. Her head started shaking, a wild back and forth as she backed up until she hit the wall. No, I don't. I don't know anything. The raw desperation was shredding her voice. Feels. How did you even get to my house so fast last night? I left you at the square with Margarita. You should have been. His expression flickered, just for a second, with something that looked like relief. His voice got softer. I saw you walking home alone. Feels. I followed you. I was worried. The wave of relief that hit her was a complete shock. He wasn't with Margarita. He was us. But the confusion came crashing back. That doesn't explain a single thing. Why did you have a gun? I'm calling the police. Heels. She made a break for the door. Sebastian was faster. His hand clamped around her wrist, spinning her right back around with terrifying strength. You're staying right here. She struggled against him. Let me go. Heels. His eyes bored into hers. The police can't do a damn thing for you. They can't protect you from what's coming. Her voice snapped, a straight-up demand. Why not? Before he could answer, a knock echoed through the house. 3 sharp, heavy thuds. Heels. Sebastian let her go and moved into the hall, pulling the door almost completely shut behind him. Almost. Arya pressed herself flat against the wall, listening. Vince's voice was low, urgent. Boss, we got him. He's a professional. From Sicily. Heels. Sebastian's reply was even quieter, so they took the bait. Diego. Vince's voice was dark now, satisfied. He's the mole. Sebastian's tone got way sharper. Heels. Who greenlit the hit? Diego, or was it the Lambertus? A moment of silence, then Vince answered, Don't know yet. Another pause. Vince spoke again, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Boss, do they know who she is? Arya's breath caught. Heels. Sebastian's answer was slow, like he was weighing every single word. They have to know she's a Venti. If they didn't, there would be zero reason to try and take her out. Her whole world spun sideways. The name just bounced around in her head. Venti. Heels. Her family name. Her mom's maiden name. She ripped the door open. Both guys whipped around, Vince looking shocked while Sebastian's face went completely blank. She stormed right up to Sebastian. You're going to tell me exactly what the hell is going on. Heels now. He opened his mouth, but she cut him off. Heels. Who are you people? What are you doing in my house? Is this your fault? Did I nearly die because of you? Sebastian's face hardened. He grabbed her arm, marching her straight back to the bedroom. The door shut with a soft click. Get off me, she spat. Heels. Ripping her arm away. I'm calling the police, and I want you out of my house. Sebastian moved like lightning, grabbing both her wrists and shoving her backward onto the bed. Her knees hit the mattress and she collapsed. He loomed over her, Heels, trapping her with his arms, his face inches from hers. Listen to me, he growled, his voice a low, deadly weapon. Like it or not, you're in this now. Heels. You're not going anywhere. You're staying in this house, and if I have to tie you to this bed to make sure you're safe, I will. Pure, cold fear shot through her. The gentle man from last night was gone. This was someone else entirely, someone lethal. Heels. Her voice trembled. Who are you? Sebastian's eyes burned holes in hers. My name is Sebastian Biano. I am the head of Clan Vetaro, a Sicilian organization. I came here to hunt for traitors, and you got stuck in the crossfire because you are a Venti. Heels. The name didn't mean anything, not like that. Her voice was barely a whisper. What does my family have to do with this? My mother was an art history professor. Heels. My grandfather died before I was even born. That's a conversation for another time. He stood up, blocking the only way out. For now, you stay in this room. I'll be back in a few hours. Vince and Luigi are here. Heels. There are other guys in the house you haven't seen. This is the safest place in the world for you. She pushed herself up, shaking. You've turned my house into a mafia hideout. A smirk without any humor touched his lips. Oh, sweetheart. Heels. You really have no clue, do you? She could only stare, her brain lagging way behind. His voice softened, just a tiny bit. This house was always a mafia hideout, long before I rented it from you, and long before you ever inherited it. Heels. This property has been a Clan Ventaro asset for decades. He paused, watching her face for a reaction. You seriously don't know who your mother was? Her throat closed up. When she finally choked out the words, they were brittle and thin. Heels. My mother taught at Columbia. She was an expert on Renaissance art. She was a quiet, strict woman, and she never— Sebastian just shook his head. Your mother was the second in command of Clan Ventaro. She answered to my father and only my father. Heels. Your grandfather, Matteo Venti, was my father's right-hand man for 40 years. This house, this land, every single thing you inherited, it all came from this world. Your mother never got out. Heels. She just hid you from it. The room started spinning. Her hands balled up in the bedsheets, trying to hang on as her mind fought to deny it. Even while some part of her knew it was true. Lies. It had to be a lie. But the way he said it, Heels, the chilling facts, the way her entire childhood suddenly looked completely different. It was too real to be made up. The word she managed to force out was a pathetic little whisper. No. Sebastian walked over to the window. Heels. I'm leaving you in here for your own protection. The windows don't open far enough to get out. It's a 20-foot drop onto solid stone. Wait for me. I'll be back this afternoon. He walked toward her. She flinched, but he just cupped her face. Heels, his touch shockingly gentle as his thumb stroked her cheek. Heels. I will protect you, he said, and it sounded like an ironclad promise. No matter what you think of me, I will keep you safe. That's not up for discussion. Then he was gone. The door clicked, the lock turned. She was a prisoner. Eels. Arya just sat there on the bed, frozen, her mind short-circuiting. The man who just locked her in a room, the same one who'd held her all night. The mother she'd never really known. A family history that was a ghost story she'd never even heard. Eels. She dropped her head in her hands, digging her fingers into her hair. Her mom a mafia boss, her grandfather a Don's partner. Her house a criminal den. Her entire life was built on a foundation of lies. Eels. And now the guy who just blew it all up was the only thing standing between her and whoever wanted her dead. She just sat there, trying to piece her world back together, before the real question bubbled up. What the hell have I gotten myself into? Eels. Arya stayed put, trying to connect the dots. Her mom always had money, way more than her dad, more than anyone they knew back in Detroit. She always dressed perfectly, carried herself with an authority that didn't match a professor's paycheck. Eels. Then there were the business trips, gone for weeks to places she never really explained. And Arya was never allowed sleepovers, never allowed out after dark, never had the freedom all her friends had. Eels. At the time, she just figured her mom was super overprotective. Now she saw the truth. Her mom wasn't just being a parent, she was hiding her, protecting her. She was keeping Arya quarantined from this whole world with everything she had. Eels. Italy was off limits. Her mom never said a word about it, never mentioned a single relative or the town she was born in. And when she died pancreatic cancer that ripped through her in 3 insane months, Arya was still in a daze. Eels. Barely processing it before it was over. The bank accounts for a woman who always seemed so loaded were totally empty, gone. The Detroit house was all that was left. Nobody from Italy called. No long-lost family crawled out of the woodwork. Eels. But there was this one thing. At the funeral, this massive wreath of black roses, impossibly fancy and expensive, shows up with no card, no name, no explanation. And then some lawyer she'd never heard of calls from Italy with news that makes 0 sense. Eels. You're the only heir to your family's house in Scario. Her thoughts shatter as she throws herself off the bed and starts pounding on the door. Vince Luigi. The name tears out of her raw throat. I need my computer. My phone. You can't lock me in here. Eels. Nothing but silence. She hits the door again, harder. Let me out. Still nothing. Arya just leans her forehead against the cool wood. So many secrets. Her mom died without a note, without any explanation, leaving Arya with a pile of unanswered questions. Eels. Just that one anonymous wreath. Black, gorgeous, and totally meaningless. And now there's Sebastian Biano, Clan Ventaro. A whole secret world her mom buried so deep Arya never even knew it existed. She hears footsteps in the hall. Eels. A key turns in the lock, and there's Sebastian standing in the doorway, holding a simple, elegant white linen dress. Exactly the kind of thing her mom would have loved. Arya, his voice is calm, steady. Found this with your stuff. Put it on. Eels. You have 1 hour. I need you downstairs. Something inside her just snaps. She crosses the room in a flash and grabs the collar of his shirt, yanking him down to her level. I don't know what kind of game you're playing. Eels. But you're telling me everything right now, or I swear to God I'm going to the police. Eels. His eyes go black. He moves impossibly fast, spinning her around and backing her up until her knees hit the bed. She falls. In a second, he's on top of her, his body a heavy weight pinning her down. His mouth crashes onto hers. Not rough, but demanding. Eels. Wiping her mind clean, she tries to fight him, her hands pushing uselessly against a chest that feels like solid rock. He's all controlled power. And then just as fast, the pressure shifts. The kiss gets softer. It turns into something almost tender. Eels. When he finally pulls back, they're both panting. Calm down, he murmurs, his voice low and raspy. Calm down, and I will explain everything. But you have to stop fighting me long enough to listen. A war is raging inside her. Eels. A battle between white-hot anger and something else. Something way more dangerous. She makes herself go still. Eels. He kisses her again. So soft this time, a gentle press of his lips that feels more like an invasion than the force from before. Then he moves, his hands finding her wrists and pinning them to the pillow over her head. He holds her there, Eels, just staring down at her, his gaze so intense it fries her brain. Just listen to me, he says, his voice quiet. That's all I'm asking you, listen. And then you can decide. She waits, her whole world shrinking down to where his body meets hers. Eels. In 1 hour, Sebastian says, every word cold and deliberate. A city official will be here. He's coming to perform a ceremony. His eyes lock onto hers. Our ceremony. Feels. We're getting married, Arya. Her eyes go wide. Pure, ice-cold shock shoots through her. What? What are you even talking about? She thrashes against him, trying to break his grip, trying to shove him off. But he's made of steel. Feels. An anchor holding her right where he wants her. Stop. His voice drops, full of threat. Stop and listen. The words scrape their way out of her throat. You're insane. I am not marrying you. I'm not. 5 years ago, he says. Feels. His voice cutting straight through her freakout. The Lambertis set a trap. A meeting in Sicily. Your mother was their target, but my father, he saw it coming. Luciano Biano took the bullet meant for Oraventi. He died protecting her. Feels. A giant empty hole opens up in Arya's chest. I took his place, he goes on. Your mother and I. We ran things. Together. As partners. Arya's brain short-circuits, trying to imagine her quiet, reserved mom making deals on territory and hardware. Feels. The question feels like swallowing glass. What kind of things? A shadow of what almost looks like amusement crosses his face, like he's poking a bear. Import-export. A fire ignites in her chest. Don't. The word comes out harder than she expected. Feels. Don't you dare play games with me. Tell me the truth. He leans in, his lips brushing her ear. Weapons. Art. Antiques. The kind that belong in museums but end up in private collections. Anything valuable enough to be worth the risk. Her eyes slide shut. Feels. So my mother was a gun runner. Your mother was a businesswoman who inherited a system 5 generations old. She was a genius, a strategist. And she kept you completely separate because she wanted you to have a choice she never had. Feels. The words wrap around Arya like a lead blanket, smothering everything she thought was real. She can barely get the next question out. You knew her better than I did. I knew her. I respected her. His expression softens for a second. Feels. I knew you were out there, of course, but Aura was the master of keeping things separate. Nobody in Sicily knew about her American daughter. He pauses. And then you walked in here and changed the whole game. Arya's breath catches. Feels. Her skin tingling with a sudden sharp alarm. Let go of me. His lips curve into something that isn't a smile, and his grip on her tightens just enough to be a reminder of who's in charge. Feels. Not till you hear the whole story, Bella. He leans in again, his mouth grazing hers, and a fire lights up inside her that she is desperately trying to ignore. Her throat closes up, but she has to know. Did she? Is this really what my mom wanted? Feels. You promised her this on her deathbed, didn't you? Sebastian's answer is to kiss her again, but harder. It's a full-on power move, shutting down all her questions with the force of his mouth until she stops fighting and just feels. Keep talking, feels. He breathes against her lips, and I'll keep doing this. I will literally kiss you until you pass out if that's what it takes to get you to listen. Her whole body locks up, feels, stuck between wanting to kill him and something that feels way too much like giving in. And deep down, in the last logical bit of her brain, a question starts to form that she really doesn't want the answer to. Feels. How could she hate his guts and want to jump his bones in the same damn breath? How could his touch make her forget everything she was supposed to be fighting against? I'm marrying you because it's the smartest play for both of us, feels. When the Lambertis tried to take me out 2 months ago, the rat was inside my own organization. My own cousin Diego sold me out. Good guys died. The whole crew fell apart. I had to disappear, feels. Hide out and plan my comeback while the world thought I was either dead or too wrecked to be a threat. The question slips out, her voice way smaller than she wanted. And what does any of this have to do with me? Everything. His eyes lock onto hers, feels. And there's something so intense in them, she can't possibly look away, feels. This house was the one spot on the planet nobody would ever look for me. I just needed time. And then you walked in. Oraventi's daughter, the secret heir nobody even knew was real. His mouth twists into a colder, more calculated smirk. Feels. You're a bonus I never saw coming. A sharp, bitter laugh escapes her. So this wedding, it's just a business deal. He just stares at her for a long, silent beat, his face a total blank. The fact that I actually find you attractive, well, feels. That's a second bonus. He shifts, pressing into her, and she feels it right then. The hard evidence of his words against her thigh. Turns out, he says, his voice laced with a raw amusement that is absolutely not in his eyes. I'm a very lucky man. Feels. Desire coiled up and barely restrained. Heat floods her face, spilling down her neck. Somehow, she finds her voice. Don't even think about it. Sebastian's hand moves to his waistband. He pulls out his pistol, sets it on the nightstand with a quiet click. Feels, but his eyes never leave hers. So there are no misunderstandings, he murmurs. And against her will, a warmth she hates crawls up her neck. He totally sees it. His face twists into this smug look that makes her want to claw his eyes out. Feels. This is what's happening. He shifts his weight. We are getting married. Today, he drops the bomb. The whole clan is going to hear that Oraventi's daughter has officially linked up with Luciano Biano's son. Feels. All the guys who scattered when Diego turned traitor will come back. They'll rally to us. We'll be stronger than ever. She can barely choke out the one question that's been terrifying her. And the Lambertus, his face turns to granite, feels. The playful vibe completely gone. Oh, they'll come here. To finish the job they think they started. A wave of ice shoots through her veins. What kind of freaking danger does that put me in? His hand finds her hair, feels. His fingers tangling in the strands with a gentleness that just doesn't fit the situation. With me, you're always safe. His voice drops lower. I will protect you with my own life. That's not up for debate. He stands up, feels, and the warmth of his body leaves a sudden cold hole in the air. But when they send their men, she starts sitting up, feels. So, how are we supposed to survive this? Sebastian strolls to the door, then pauses, shooting her a look with a smile loaded with an insane amount of confidence. You let me handle that. Just focus on getting ready, Miss Venti. Biano, feels. That new name just hangs in the air. And I swear when this is over, you're getting a real wedding, one you will never ever forget. The door shuts. The lock clicks. Arya is completely frozen, feels. Eyes locked on a white linen dress as it all flashes through her head. This insane family history, the lethal alliances, and a wedding that's going down in under an hour, feels. She thinks about her mother and every secret she kept to shield her from this exact life, feels. Was this what her mom would have wanted? Could she have possibly imagined Arya getting dragged right back into the same violent whirlpool she fought tooth and nail to escape, feels? Or did she check out believing her daughter would have a life that was actually safe? Separate. She had 60 minutes. That's it. A single hour to choose. Get in that dress, go down those stairs, feels, and chain herself to a man who was either her salvation or her complete and utter destruction. 1 hour to make any sense of what in God's name she was supposed to do. Arya stood at the mirror, staring into the eyes of a total stranger, feels. The simple white dress Sebastian left for her fit perfectly, its elegance a twisted joke that made her want to scream. Her fingers drifted to her neck, tracing the ghost-purple bruises some psycho had left behind, feels. A tiny cut sat at the corner of her swollen lip. A pale violet shadow was blooming on her cheekbone. This was definitely not the wedding she'd ever pictured. The whole idea of it forces a smile onto her face, a bitter, humorless twist of her lips, feels. Honestly, she'd never pictured a wedding, period. Never let herself think that far ahead. Never had the guts to believe any man could get past the fortress she'd built around her heart. And look at her now. 2 weeks, feels. A measly 14 days was all it took for her entire universe to get flattened and rebuilt into this freakish, unrecognizable nightmare. She ran her fingers through her wet hair, trying and failing to make it look civilized. No makeup, no lipstick, feels. Just the fading tattoos of violence in this dress Sebastian had picked from her own closet, feels. The reflection just stared back, eyes wide, holding in a silent scream, skin like porcelain. She was a perfect picture of what she'd become. A woman about to be shoved off a cliff with no way to steer, no way to stop, and no way to escape, feels. The pure absurdity of even worrying about lipstick right now almost made a raw laugh tear out of her. The massive staircase flowed down into the main hall, and Arya descended slowly, one hand gripping the fancy banister like a lifeline, feels. Voices drifted up to her, the low growl of men, the sharp ring of a woman's laughter. She stopped on the landing. Vince was by the windows, arms crossed over his chest in his usual quiet but deadly pose. Luigi was leaning against the far wall, feels, a hand resting casually on his hip, right where she knew the cold steel of his gun was waiting. Feels. A guy in glasses, looking like a trapped rat, was clutching a leather folder to his chest like a shield, his eyes darting all over the massive room, probably mapping every single exit. The city official, feels. Next to Sebastian stood a younger man she didn't recognize, maybe in his early 30s, with dark hair and a sharp face that had the same predatory stillness she was starting to see as a family trait, feels. And Margarita, gone were the flowy dresses and the artsy vibe. She was decked out in cargo pants and a t-shirt that fit like a second skin, her long wavy hair yanked back into a serious ponytail. She looked like she belonged here, feels, totally comfortable in this atmosphere of gunpowder and danger in a way that made Arya's chest feel tight. Heels. Sebastian started walking toward her, and the entire room's energy just shifted. Everybody moved like a squad of soldiers snapping to attention when their CO hits the field. Arya. Heels. His voice had that infuriatingly calm control that made her want to throw something at him. You've met your cousin, Margarita. He nodded toward the younger guy. This is Alfonso Venti, Margarita's brother. He's also your cousin. Heels. Alfonso just tilted his head, his dark eyes sizing her up with a mix of respect and cold calculation. Hello, Arya. Margarita shot her a grin. Well, look at you, cousin, snagging the handsome one. Arya just stared back, Heels, her brain completely short-circuiting, unable to process what was happening. Heels. Another cousin. More family she never knew existed. Sebastian's hand circled her elbow, his touch weirdly steady and warm. We should get this over with. A part of her was screaming to yank her arm back, to demand answers, an explanation. Heels. Just a second to breathe. But she didn't. She let him guide her toward the terrified official, a man who looked like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. They stopped in front of the desk someone had set up for this sham. Heels. The official had to clear his throat 3 times before he could even talk, his hands shaking so bad as he opened the folder. His voice cracked. He tried again. I have to ask if you are both entering into this union of your own free will. Heels, without coercion or yes. Heels. Sebastian's answer cut right through the tension, leaving zero room for argument. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles that sent a lightning bolt straight up her arm. His eyes locked onto hers. Heels. Dark and intense with something that made her heart skip a beat. The official looked over at her. And you, Miss Venti? Arya swallowed, her throat totally dry. She could feel every single person in that room staring at her. She thought about bolting. Heels. About screaming no. About all the smart, logical reasons she should be fighting this. She forced her voice to be solid, a wall against the hurricane in her head. Do I really have another option? The official just blinked at her from behind his glasses. Heels, pure confusion on his face. Heels. The confession felt like swallowing shards of glass, forcing its way past the lump of terror in her throat. Yes, I do. The actual signing was done in like 3 minutes. A couple of signatures, a few initials. Heels. The dry scratch of a pen on paper was the only sound marking the moment Arya Venti legally became Arya Biano. The official grabbed his papers with trembling hands. You can pick up your marriage certificate from City Hall in the morning. Heels. Or, he shot a nervous look at Luigi, who had silently moved to stand right behind him, one hand now parked meaningfully on his waist. Or I could have it delivered first thing. Sebastian's voice was pure ice. That would be best. Heels. The guy basically ran for the door. The second he vanished, Margarita launched herself at Arya, crushing her in a hug that squeezed all the air out. Heels. Welcome to the family, cousin. Arya was stiff as a board in her arms, her mind still trying to catch up. Is that? She pulled back a little. Are you carrying a gun? Just a 9mm. It's nothing. Heels. Margarita waved it off like she was talking about a tube of lipstick. I will never get used to this. But it was a lie, and Arya knew it as soon as she said it. She was already getting used to way too many insane things. She grabbed Margarita's arm, Heels, pulling her aside while the men talked quietly by the windows. Arya dropped her voice. I thought you had a thing for Sebastian, you said. Margarita just laughed. I do have a thing for Sebastian. I've known him since we were kids. Heels. A softness came into her eyes, but not that kind of thing, Arya. Heels. Never that kind. She took a breath. And it's so obvious he has them for you. But the tension in Arya's shoulders was a solid block of cement. But what about all that stuff you told me about him? Margarita laughed again. Louder this time. Heels. A sound full of real amusement. That, my dear, was a little test. Her smile got wider. And sweetheart, you could not hide your jealousy for even a second. It was written all over your gorgeous face. A sudden, hot wave of humiliation washed over Arya. Heels. She looked across the room at Sebastian, who was deep in conversation with Alonso. They were all playing her, a calculated game. And she, a psychologist who prided herself on reading people, had walked straight into their trap. Heels. I need to be alone for a minute. The words felt tight, choked. Heels. It's all too much. She turned and made for the stairs, desperate for some space, for a quiet place to think. She heard Sebastian say something low to Alfonso behind her, but she didn't look back. She couldn't. Heels. A gigantic oil painting dominated the second-floor landing, generations of the Venti family staring out with dark, hard eyes. She felt drawn to it, her own eyes scanning the painted faces until she found her. Maybe 16 years old in the painting, Heels, standing a little apart from everyone else. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe braid. Her chin was lifted in pure defiance, and her eyes had a wild spark that hadn't been stamped out yet by years of ruthless control. Eels. My mother was the head of the Mafia. Eels. Arya says the words out loud, just to feel how they roll off her tongue. They feel wrong, totally alien. So that was your final little trick, huh, Mom? One last secret you took to the grave. The girl in the painting just stares back, silent. What's our play? Eels. Alfonso is standing by the windows with Sebastian, looking casual, but his eyes are sharp. Sebastian just watches the amber scotch swirl in his glass, the booze catching the last rays of sunlight. We wait. Alfonso's eyebrows shoot up just a little. Eels. We wait to see who cracks, who keeps their mouth shut, and who makes the first desperate move. He takes a slow sip. We'll find out who's loyal and who's a snake. And when the Lambertus finally make their move, his face hardens into a mask of pure, Eels' cold strategy. We'll be ready. Eels. For a second, Alfonso just watches him, taking in the tension in his shoulders. You seem calm. I was calm. Sebastian's eyes drift up toward the staircase where Arya disappeared. But now I have someone to lose, someone I have to protect. Eels. A flicker of what might be sympathy softens Alfonso's expression. She's stronger than you think. I know exactly how strong she is. Sebastian's voice gets quiet, laced with a whole new kind of fear. That's precisely what worries me. Eels. Margarita pops into the doorway, phone in hand. Seb, what's your head count in the basement? 6 men with enough guns and gear to take on a small army. Margarita's thumbs are flying across the screen. Eels. Good. I'm spreading the word then. Letting our people know the happy couple is home. Then she's gone, the sound of her footsteps vanishing down the long hall. Sebastian walks over to the window, staring at the sea as it turns black. Eels. His time was running short. In the end, he'd either be 6 feet under on this very property, or he'd be running the entire damn organization. The next few days were the final act. He throws back the rest of his drink in one shot and heads for the stairs. Eels. Arya is lying on the bed, wrapped in a towel, her hair still damp from the shower. The day is just replaying in her mind on a loop. The joke of a wedding. Margarita's backstabbing. The family portrait. Her own mother's teenage face staring back at her. Eels. The door swings open. Heavy footsteps cross the floor. Eels. Sebastian. He walks into the room with that smooth, controlled power she was starting to recognize. He's all coiled muscle and intentional moves. The mattress dips as he sits on the edge of the bed. Let me see. His voice is a low rumble. Your face. Eels. Your neck. She turns toward him, letting him cup her chin. His fingers trace the bruise high on her cheekbone with a shocking amount of tenderness, then move to the nasty purple marks ringing her throat. When his thumb brushes over her swollen lip, Eels, her breath catches. Just for a second. I need you to get something. He holds her gaze. I will do anything, whatever it takes to keep you safe. That part is not negotiation. Ice, pressing against her skin. Eels. He'd brought something cold up from downstairs. The shock makes her gasp as he slowly traces the ice cube down her neck, following the path of her bruises. Look on the bright side. His whole vibe changes. At least there's an attraction between us. Eels. All her senses go on high alert. She forces herself to meet his eyes, to keep her voice steady. What on earth would make you think I'm attracted to you? That journal you keep. The ice keeps moving, leaving a cold trail on her burning skin. Eels. You filled an entire page analyzing me. Pure humiliation floods her. She shoots up, clutching the towel to her chest. You went through my things? That notebook has confidential patient files in it. You had no right. Eels. I only read the parts about me. His eyes have that dangerous glint she's starting to get used to. The rest is of no interest. The ice slides lower, drawing a line over her collarbone. Her skin feels like it's on fire where he touches. Eels. Her own body trying to melt the cold away. He watches her face, totally focused, reading every tiny reaction. You wrote that I was dangerously compelling, that I made you feel off balance and drawn to me against all better judgment. Eels. His fingers slide under the towel's edge, and the ice is suddenly between her breasts, a sharp jolt against her overheated skin. A sound rips out of her throat, part gasp, part moan, and 100% not her choice. Sebastian yanks her into him, Eels, his mouth crashing down on hers with a deliberate, consuming hunger. Eels. And this time, there's no holding back. No second thoughts, no walls. Arya kisses him back with the raw desperation of a drowning woman who just found her only pocket of air. Her fingers scrabble at the buttons on his shirt, fumbling. Eels. Until she gets so frustrated, she just rips it open. Sebastian's hands shoot up, grabbing her wrists. His breathing is ragged. He whispers her name. Arya, as his own hands go for the towel knotted at her waist. With one clean, decisive pull, he lets it drop, feels. Whatever control he had left just shatters. His shirt is gone in a fluid, tearing motion, his hands already on her again. She climbs into his lap, her body fitting against his like they were made for this exact moment. They're just gone. Mouths, hands, feels, and a suffocating heat, right up until her fingers find his belt, trace lower, and wrap around the cold, hard reality of the gun holstered at the small of his back. Feels. In one clean move, she yanks the pistol free, pressing the cold steel right up against his temple. Sebastian doesn't even flinch. Nope. Instead, a laugh rumbles out of his chest, a real surprised laugh, and somehow, feels, the gun to his head is turning him on even more. "What in the world are you doing?" he asks, equal parts shocked and totally impressed. Arya's voice is way more solid than she feels, sitting naked in his lap holding his own piece. "Here's the new plan," feels. "We're walking out of this house. You're driving me to the airport, and then you're putting me on a plane back to my real life, the one you torched." His grin just gets wider. Feels. "So you're just going to walk out on your husband?" Wow, some loyalty. Don't. She digs the barrel harder into his skull, making her point crystal clear. "Don't you dare joke, and don't you forget whose daughter I am." His eyes lock onto hers, feels, practically daring her to pull the trigger. And if I say no, she doesn't answer. Instead, she aims at the open window and fears, just once. The gunshot shatters the quiet. Sebastian just stares, completely stunned, feels. "How the hell do you even know how to use that thing?" "I used to hit the shooting range, to clear my head." She brings the muzzle right back to his temple. Stress relief. "Turns out, I'm pretty good." He laughs again, and this time it's pure, genuine delight. Feels. "You really are your mother's daughter." Then the door gets kicked off its hinges. Luigi, Vince, Margarita, the whole crew floods in, guns up, moving like a SWAT team. Feels. Margarita takes in the whole insane picture. Arya, naked on the boss's lap, a gun to his head, both of them breathing like they just ran a marathon. Her eyebrows shoot to her hairline. Sorry to interrupt. Whatever the hell this is. Feels. Luigi and Vince immediately start backing out, their faces total blank slates. "Everything is under control," Sebastian says, his eyes never leaving Arya's. "All of you can get out." Arya keeps the gun perfectly steady. Feels. "My husband and I are having a private chat. Leave." Margarita's face just melts into pure amusement. "Right, of course. Take all the time you need." She dips out, pulling the door shut. The silence that follows is thick, electric. Arya's chest is heaving. Feels. Her whole body buzzing with adrenaline and something way, way hotter. Feels. Sebastian's eyes drop to her chest, watching it rise and fall with every panicked breath. "You have no idea what you're doing to me right now, do you?" Somehow she gets the words out, breathless but solid as a rock. "Do you have any idea how serious I am?" Feels. She steadies the gun again. "I'm telling you, we're leaving. Tonight, you are taking me to the damn airport." Her eyes are burning into his. "And give me the towel." He pauses, then his hand moves for it, nice and slow. His hand reaches for the cloth, feels. But instead of handing it over, he strikes like a viper. One hand smacks the gun away while the other flips her onto her back in a single, brutal motion. She's pinned, wrists trapped over her head in one of his massive hands, feels, while his other hand expertly ejects the magazine and clears the chamber, feels. The gun hits the floor. Useless. Rule number 1 when you've got a gun on someone. His body is a dead weight on top of her, all muscle and heat and absolute dominance. Don't let them distract you. She struggles, but it's a complete waste of time. Feels. He holds her like it's nothing. "Let me go. Just listen." His voice gets a hard edge she's never heard. "Even if I took you to the airport, even if I put you on a flight to Detroit, they know who you are now." Feels. "They know your father had a daughter, and they will find you." His eyes force her to face the nasty truth. "You seriously think the Lambertats will just let you walk? You think for 1 second they won't use you to get to me, to hurt my family?" Feels. A bone-deep chill shoots through her. "Your little plan was never going to work." Feels. He tightens his grip on her wrists. "Trusting me is your only option. Your mother did. I was loyal to her till her last breath, and I swear I'll be loyal to you for the rest of my life." And just like that, Arya stops struggling. She just goes limp under him. Feels. I mean, why was she even fighting it? She's been thirsty for this guy since the first second she laid eyes on him. She wanted the attitude. She wanted the danger. She wanted how he looked at her like she was the only person on the planet. Feels. She filled notebooks about this dude, dissecting every little moment, trying to logic her way out of it. But what she felt had zero to do with logic. She reaches up, pulls his mouth down to hers. Not like last time. This isn't a diversion. Feels. This was the real deal. A raw, honest need with no more walls to hide behind. A groan rips out of his throat. His self-control completely shattered. He drops her wrists, his hands diving into her hair, tracing the lines of her body. Feels. Touching every inch like he's been dying for this chance for weeks. She's yanking at his belt, his zipper, pulling him closer, demanding all of him. When their clothes are finally on the floor with hers, she wraps herself around him, bringing him inside. Feels. This time as he moves into her, she doesn't resist, doesn't flinch. She welcomes him. And when he fills her, the feeling literally steals her breath. It felt whole, complete. It felt so right it was absolutely terrifying. I need you, Arya. Feels. His words were a broken mess against her skin. I need you with me. I need you to be mine. She couldn't say a word, couldn't form a thought. Her body answered instead. In the way she moved against him, in the noises that escaped her lips, Feels, in how her nails dug into his shoulders. Something fundamental inside her was breaking. A core piece of who she thought she was just shifted. The cautious psychologist, the woman who analyzed every tiny thing, Feels, who kept her walls up and stayed in control, she was history, and in her place was someone who took chances. Someone who felt everything. Someone who chose desire over safety. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was the Venti blood finally waking up, Feels, the legacy her mom tried to stamp out. Or maybe this was just Arya, finally letting herself be completely, devastatingly alive. Feels. The second she shatters around him, his name ripped from her lips, she feels the last of her internal defenses crumble to dust. When he follows her over the edge seconds later, his face buried in her neck, she just knew. Feels. Nothing was ever going to be the same. They just laid there after, tangled up, neither wanting to break the spell. His hand drew lazy circles on her back. Stay with me. It wasn't a command. It was a request. Hell, it might have even been a plea. Feels. Arya didn't answer with words. She just kissed his jaw, his throat, letting her body say everything he needed to hear. Outside, the ocean slammed against the rocks. Somewhere in the house, armed guards stood watch. And out in the world, Feels, enemies were plotting, trouble was coming. Feels. But in this moment, wrapped up in Sebastian's arms, Arya found something she never ever expected to find. It wasn't his power, it was her own. Her entire life had been about playing it safe, staying small, desperately trying not to be her mother. Feels. But what if safety was never the point? What if power was? And what if, just maybe, she'd finally found the one place she was supposed to be? Arya woke up surrounded by warmth, a solid chest under her cheek. Feels. Strong arms holding her like she was made to fit right there. Sebastian's breathing was slow and even. He was still out. She tried to slide away, to escape without waking him, but his arms locked down instantly, pulling her right back. Feels. His voice was scratchy with sleep and a whole lot darker. Feels. You weren't seriously thinking about sneaking out on our first morning, were you? Total statement, not a question. His hands started moving, slow and deliberate, retracing the map of her skin he'd claimed just hours ago. Feels. When she finally looked up at him, his eyes held something that made her chest seize up. Yeah, there was desire, but under it was something else softer. It was love. The word hit her like a punch. She'd never had that look aimed at her before. Feels. Never let herself think anyone ever would. His mouth found hers, hungry, possessive, and she was already melting into him when the knock came. Hard, urgent. Boss! Vince's voice cut through the door. Big yacht just anchored offshore. Feels. Sebastian went completely rigid. Feels. The heat between them vanished. In its place was something stone cold. He was already out of bed, throwing on pants and a shirt with a speed that was pure deadly habit. The gun was suddenly tucked at his back like it grew there, as natural as breathing. Feels. Arya bolted to the window. She looked out. A fancy white yacht was sitting about a quarter-mile out, looking perfect in the morning light. It could be anyone. People anchor out here all the time. I don't do could be. Sebastian was next to her. Feels. Tension rolling off him. This is a private cove, if they're here instead of near town. His eyes scanned the yacht with a hunter's focus. They might be exactly who we've been waiting for. Feels. The marriage announcement went out yesterday. They move fast. That icy dread came flooding right back into Arya's system. You think it's them, the Lambertus? He didn't answer. He just strode toward the door. Feels. The main room was now a full-blown command center. Margarita was at the window, binoculars glued to her eyes, her chill morning vibe gone, replaced by razor-sharp focus. It has to be the Lamberts. She didn't lower the glasses. Feels. Nobody else would be caught dead in black suits on a luxury yacht in this heat. Peasants, no class. Alfonso appeared from the armory, slapping a magazine into his pistol. We could send a fishing boat, get a closer look. No, Eels. Sebastian snatched the binoculars from Margarita, studying the yacht himself. Eels. His whole face shifted, the warmth gone, replaced by a cold, calculating look. We do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Alfonso looked completely lost. They won't move before dark. Right now, they're just out there, watching, counting our numbers. Eels. Sebastian lowered the binoculars. We have to make them think we're an easy target. Let them get comfortable. See us acting like we don't have a care in the world. His eyes swept the room. They have to believe the advantage is theirs. Eels. Margarita's expression perfectly matched his vibe. So we put on a show. Exactly. Sebastian looked from her to Arya. Get your swimsuits. We're spending the morning by the water. Arya and Margarita shared a look. Eels, and Margarita's shrug basically said it all. Just another day at the Venti family circus. Eels. 30 minutes later, Arya's sitting on the edge of a stone dock next to Margarita, their feet dangling in the water. A small motorboat bobbed next to them. The sun felt amazing, so real on her shoulders. The ocean was sparkling, calling to her. Eels. And somewhere out on that gorgeous blue water, guys were watching them through rifle scopes. The whole situation was giving her whiplash. Then Sebastian appears, wearing only swim trunks, a walking map of lean muscle and quiet menace. Eels. He doesn't even hesitate, just dives cleanly into the water. Try not to stare at the yacht, Margarita said in a low voice, sipping some orange bubbly drink that was way too cheerful for the situation. Eels. The danger isn't here just yet. We should enjoy this while we can. Arya's eyes were locked on the spot where Sebastian disappeared. He was under way too long. That familiar anxiety started buzzing under her skin. Eels. Then he shot to the surface by the motorboat's hull, his hands messing with something right under the waterline. What is he doing? Margarita just swirled her drink, looking like she was on the chillest vacation ever, planting charges. C4, probably. Eels. Seeks if we're running low on the good stuff. The line was so casual, so totally normal that Arya's brain just short-circuited. Then it hit her. He's what? Sebastian is always prepared. Margarita leaned her head back, soaking up the sun. Eels. He has backup plans for his backup plans. Arya's eyes went across the bay to the Zodiac raft tucked away by the boathouse. Eels. What's that for? Our exit strategy. Told you, he's prepared. Sebastian surfaced, pulling himself onto the dock in one smooth move, water streaming down his chest. He came straight to Arya. Eels. Leaning in and kissing her before she could even process anything. You are not blowing up my cottage. She wanted it to sound like an order. It came out like a plea. His lips were still brushing against hers. I'll buy you a better one, bigger. Eels. Anywhere you want in the world. Arya just shook her head, the insane weight of her new reality finally crashing down. 2 weeks ago, I had a normal life. It might have been boring, but it was normal. She glanced at Margarita. Eels. Who was already pouring another drink, and it wasn't even 11 a.m. Eels. And what about you? Chugging Aperol at 11 in the morning. Margarita just raises her glass like a total boss. Sweetheart, it's a Venti family thing. Then she lays out the schedule. Cocktails at 11 a.m., wine at lunch, hard stuff in the afternoon. Eels. Tequila with dinner, and a whiskey nightcap. She takes a huge gulp. Get used to it. Arya's protest is weak sauce, even to her. Something inside her is already getting harder, colder, but before she can spiral, bam! Strong arms snatch her up from behind. Eels. It's Sebastian, lifting her like she's nothing. Eels. What are you doing? But his eyes are blazing with that intense look she's getting way too familiar with. Something I've wanted to do since the second I saw you. And then he just launches himself off the dock. Eels. Dragging her straight into the water with him. They surface, sputtering, and her shock just melts into wild laughter. Forget the yacht, the gunman, the bombs. Forget that her life got torched and rebuilt in 14 days. Eels. Sebastian's hands lock onto her waist under the water, pulling her body right up against his. Ever tell you about the hidden cove, he growls. Arya bites her lip, trying not to smile. Yeah, you might have mentioned it. His grin goes full-on predator. Eels. Did I mention what I'm going to do to you there? Her playful vibe vanishes instantly as she slaps a hand over his mouth. Eels. Just promise me we get out of tonight alive. He just turns his head and kisses her palm, his green eyes burning in the... All the joking is gone, replaced by this insane, rock-solid certainty. I will never let anyone hurt you, Bella. Not them never. Eels. His grip on her waist gets tighter. It's not just a promise, it's a claim. I swear it. Out on the water, the enemy yacht is just sitting there, looking deadly. Under their boat, bombs are waiting. Back at the house, guns are being loaded. But right there, feels in his arms, she lets herself believe him. Feels. She didn't have a choice. The alternative was unthinkable. The sun finally dips below the horizon, smearing the sky the color of blood. Inside the cottage is lit up like a Christmas tree. The dinner table is a complete sham, leftover pasta, feels. Half-drunk wine glasses, all for show. Sebastian's at the head of the table, phone glued to his ear, firing off commands in a low, steady voice. Margarita is just swirling her wine, looking totally relaxed, feels, completely ignoring the fact that a private army is gearing up for war just outside. Felt like I was acting all day, she says, a glint in her eye. Honestly, one of the best days I've had in a while. Sebastian's focus is just absolute, feels. Luigi, you in position downstairs? A pause. Good. Get the boat to the backup cove in the next hour. Kill the lights. Got it. Arya just watches him from the other end of the table. 2 weeks. 14 freaking days ago. Feels. This guy was just some smug jerk with a hot face and a dangerous vibe. Now? He was her husband. The word feels totally alien. She tries to ignore how damn captivating he is when he's in charge. That quiet authority that makes everyone snap to attention. Feels. The way you can tell he's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Nope. Definitely doesn't remind her of her dad. At all. Feels. But her mother, Arya's eyes drift to the dark water as her psychologist training kicks in on autopilot. The brain defaults to familiar patterns, not because they're safe, but because they're hardwired. She'd spent her whole career studying this stuff, feels, and she still walked right into this trap with her eyes wide open. How else does this happen? The realization hits her like a brick, solid, undeniable, and she's done fighting it. Sebastian. It's Alonso, voice sharp from the doorway, feels. 2 cars we don't recognize just left town, heading our way. And the yacht just dropped a speedboat in the water. Feels. Sebastian is on his feet in a flash, his body coiled tight, but his movements are smooth. He glances at the clock. 9 p.m. They'll have us surrounded within the hour. The main assault will hit around 11. His eyes scan the room, all business. Margarita, feels. Vince, Luigi, you're the decoys. Everyone else stays out of sight. They can't know our real numbers. Nods all around. The crew gets it. Then Sebastian turns to Arya, holding out his hand, palm up. It's an invitation, not an order. Come with me, feels. The bedroom feels tiny with both of them in it. Sebastian shuts the door, crosses the room, and cups her face in his hands. His touch is shockingly gentle for a guy who's about to go to war, feels. The kiss is soft, tender. It makes 0 sense right now. What was that for? Her voice is thin, about to crack. In 2 hours, this place is going to be swarming with killers. How are you so calm? He pulls her down onto the bed, face to face. Feels. His thumb traces her cheek, so carefully it makes her ache. If this was all the time we had left, he says, his gaze locked on hers, would you want to spend it freaking out or like this? Arya shoves his chest, sitting up, feels. We have known each other for 2 weeks. Don't you dare tell me you're in love with me. Sebastian just props himself on an elbow, those damn green eyes stripping her bare. Feels. How long is a person supposed to take to fall in love? Tell me, psychologist. What's the official data say? She opens her mouth, but nothing comes out. He knew it. The second you fell into my lap and looked up at me with those eyes. Feels. His voice drops to a murmur. I knew I was going to be with you, that this was it. Because you planned it. She spits back, the words tasting like acid. No. He grabs her hand, presses it flat against the solid wall of his chest. Feels. His heart is hammering against her palm. Fast, strong, you can't fake that. This was never a plan. It's this. Just this. He covers her hand with his other one, holding it there. Sometimes a few seconds is all it takes. Feels. His words land on her chest like a ton of bricks. Why me? The question rips out of her before she can stop it, a raw, needy sound that exposes every single wall she's put up. Why would you fall for me? A small smile plays on his lips, but it's softer now. Feels. You're looking for the textbook answer, right? I bet you've got one already. He closes the last bit of distance between them. But let me tell you what I actually see. His fingers trace her jaw, impossibly light. That distance in your eyes. Feels. Like you're mapping every escape route, even when you're dying to stay. He brushes a strand of hair from her face. I see how you give me your body, then snatch your soul right back to stay in control. It's that beautiful, maddening contradiction. Feels. For a hot second, she completely forgets how to breathe. You warn me to keep my distance, even when your body is begging me to come closer. Everything about you screams, don't touch me, but there's a whisper underneath it all, begging me to take you. Feels. His thumb brushes over her bottom lip. It's the vulnerability you try to hide behind all those walls. The fire that flashes in your eyes right before you turn your head away, trying to hide it from me. She swallows hard. For the first time ever, feels. Someone was seeing right through the performance. Not the put-together psychologist, but the messy, contradictory truth she kept locked down. In that moment, he knew her better than she knew herself. Feels. A single tear breaks free. A goddamn traitor. She swipes it away, fast, useless, praying he didn't see it. He did. Sebastian leans in, forehead resting against hers, and when he kisses her, the entire world tilts on its axis. It's a question, feels. His lips are searching, a tender exploration, as his hands frame her face like she's priceless. Tell me, Arya. He pulls back just enough, his voice raw with need. What is this? What do you feel for me? He eases her down onto her back, feels. His body a warm pressure on top of hers as the kiss turns hungry, his hands starting to explore, mapping her through her clothes. If you feel what I feel. His breath catches. I need to hear you say it tonight. Feels. I need a reason to hope. His fingers find the hem of her dress, sliding it up slowly as the cool night air hits her skin. Moonlight cuts through the window, painting them in silver and black. He looks down at her, feels, and his whole face softens with something that looks like worship. It's not just your body I need. His hands move over her skin, slow, deliberate, like he's memorizing her. I need your soul, stripped bare, all of it. Arya pulls him down, feels, her arms wrapping around his neck. Her lips find his ear, and she finally says the words that have been scaring her to death. I want you, Sebastian. Her voice shakes. I love you. She pulls back just enough to look him in the eye, feels, to make sure he knows it's the God's honest truth, feels. Make love to me like there's no tomorrow. And he did. He kissed her, and the entire world just blinked out of existence. As he moved inside her, he never looked away, his eyes wide open, all defenses down, totally raw. I love you, feels. The words just shattered his self-control. Arya, I love you. She clutched him, his name a desperate whisper, as this massive wave of pure emotion just slammed into them. Afterward, they were just a tangle of limbs, two people who refused to be pried apart. Feels. But outside, in the dark, armed men were closing in. A yacht waited just off the coast. Pure violence was on its way. But for just this 1 second, wrapped in moonlight and each other, they'd found the one thing actually worth dying for. Feels. The peace shattered when someone started hammering on the door. Arya was still plastered against Sebastian's chest, the solid beat of his heart calming her down. For one perfect stolen moment, she knew what it felt like to be safe. Feels. It was the deep breath before the tidal wave hits, the last gulp of air before you go under. Then Margarita was there, blowing through the door. They're here, Seb. Her voice cut through the dark like a knife. Go, now, feels. They threw on their clothes in a complete panic, hands fumbling over zippers and buttons. Sebastian grabbed Arya's hand, yanking her straight into the chaos. They took the stairs at a dead sprint, feels, his grip so hard it was definitely going to leave a bruise. Every single light was out. The darkness was total. When they reached the basement door, Sebastian's fingers flew over the keypad. Feels. Steel doors slid open with a hiss, revealing stairs leading down into what could only be a military-grade bunker. Holy crap. Racks of guns lined the concrete walls. Tunnels shot off in 3 different directions. Feels. Guys were moving with the terrifying focus of soldiers, slapping magazines into rifles, clicking tactical vests into place. Arya felt the air leave her lungs. Her own mother grew up down here, in these tunnels, walking past these guns, feels. Learning a whole language of survival Arya never even knew was real. How did she know her own mother so little? The thought was a sharp jab in her chest. 6 dudes, armed to the teeth, shoved past them and charged up the stairs. Sebastian's arm shot out, feels. Grabbing a guy named Vince. Stay sharp. His voice was ridiculously calm. When this house blows, you better not be in it. Vince just nodded once, his jaw locked tight. Feels. Sebastian slapped his shoulder. If I don't see you down here, I'll see you on the boat. Then he turned to Luigi and Margarita, his face morphing into a commander's mask. She's your problem now. Keep her safe. No, feels. The word ripped out of Arya's throat before she could stop it. You are not staying here, you can't. I have to stand with my men. Sebastian's eyes were like granite, totally unmoving. I'm the only one who can arm the system. They need to see me here, feels. They have to know I'm in the fight with them. Arya's fingers dug into his wrist, a desperate attempt to keep him there. I'm not leaving you. Margarita's hand covered hers. Her touch was gentle, but there was no arguing with it. They come back, Arya. Feels. They always come back. Feels. She gave Sebastian a look, pure loyalty burning in her eyes. You watch out for Alfonso. Don't even think about coming back without him. Sebastian smashed a hard, fast kiss on Arya's mouth. 1 hour. Meet you at the boat, I promise. And just like that, he was gone, bolting up the stairs. Margarita's hand clamped onto Arya's arm, dragging her toward a dark tunnel. Arya twisted around, trying to get one last look at him. God, please, don't let that be the last time. Please bring him back, Eels. The crack of gunfire exploded from upstairs. Sebastian was already punching a code into a hidden panel, ducking into a room that wasn't on any blueprint, Eels. The bomb was right where he'd left it 3 years ago when he turned this cozy cottage into a freaking fortress, just in case. Eels. 40 minutes. That's all he was giving anyone left inside. He keyed in the sequence, watching the timer blink on. Red numbers started their slow crawl to 0. He holstered 2 pistols and gripped a third. As he stepped out and turned for the stairs, one thought took over his brain. This was not his last night on Earth. He was going back to her. Arya ran. The tunnel was closing in. The darkness felt like a heavy blanket. The little light from Margarita's flashlight bounced ahead, a pathetic defense against the pitch black. She was ditching him to save her own skin, and it felt wrong, like fundamentally soul-deep wrong. Miss Venti, Luigi's voice echoed from right behind her. What's up? Shouldn't you be up there fighting? She gasped, her breathing all messed up. Why are we the ones running? My only job is to get you to the boat in one piece. Luigi's huge body moved closer, basically blocking the tunnel. We can't lose a single second. We gotta move. Arya, Luigi! Margarita yelled from somewhere up ahead. Where are you? Luigi shouted back, his voice bouncing off the walls. Keep going, Someone's gotta get to the boat and wake the captain. I've got Miss Venti. A long, tense silence stretched out before Margarita's voice came back, fainter this time. You damn well better be right behind us. Margarita was second-guessing this. Arya could feel it. Then the flashlight beam disappeared around a corner, swallowed by the tunnel. Luigi's hand found her arm, his grip solid, insistent. Come on this way. He pulled her down a totally different path. We're sticking to the plan, Arya just let him lead her deeper underground. Something was off. It was a bad vibe she couldn't explain, a knot of pure wrongness twisting in her stomach. They moved through the suffocating dark, only their footsteps making any noise. And then she heard it. The ocean, the sound of waves smashing into rocks. A tiny dot of light appeared, the end of the tunnel. But when she finally stepped out into the night air, a wave of cold confusion hit her. She was standing right next to her own cottage. The little stone house was just a dark shape against the sky. The dock she knew so well stretched out into the black water. This wasn't the meeting point. This wasn't the boat. Luigi. She spun on him, her voice like a whip. Where the hell are we? Why are we here? Luigi lifted his pistol, the black barrel aimed right at her chest. His voice was a whisper at first, drowned out by the sound of the firefight in the distance. Don't be scared. Then louder, his words echoing back down the tunnel. I'm sorry, Arya. The Ventus are out. You never should have come here. The two of you should never have been part of the family. His jaw tightened. If Sebastian takes over, he'll burn everything to the ground. All our deals, the whole network. Cold, sharp fear was crawling up her throat, but her brain was already kicking into high gear. She squinted, trying to read his face in the dark. Are you working for Diego? Her voice was way calmer than she felt. Or is this the Lamberts? Luigi stepped closer, the gun never wavering. Keep walking. She could see the main house through the tunnel entrance. Muzzle flashes lit up the windows, quick, violent explosions of light against the stone. What about Sebastian? The question ripped out of her. Margarita? Alonso? Are you just going to kill them all? They're Venturo. For a second, Arya saw something on Luigi's face that looked almost like regret. You're not one of us. She staggered backward. Her boots scraped on stone. Behind her was the dock and the cottage, dark and abandoned. The Mediterranean Sea was a massive black sheet, flickering with the reflection of fire, and then the world just tore itself apart. The explosion at the main house sent a shockwave ripping through the ground under her feet. Stone and wood and memories erupted in a giant column of fire. A wave of heat washed over her, even from this far. Sebastian, did you get out? The thought was a fist squeezing her heart, crushing the air from her lungs. This isn't personal, Arya. Luigi's voice cut right through the roar of the fire. I'm sorry. The gun went off, and the force of the bullet threw her into the darkness. The pain hadn't hit yet, just the shock. Her body knew it was shot way before her brain did. The last thing she saw was the venti house being devoured by flames, its walls crumbling into a pile of orange and red peels. The last thing she felt was the memory of Sebastian's lips on hers. She hit the water flat on her back. The same water where she'd been laughing with him just that morning. The cold was absolute, a black hole that swallowed her completely. Peels. Salt water burned her eyes and her lips. Is this really how it ends? She had just started to find the parts of herself she'd buried for years. She'd finally learned to stop apologizing for just existing. She'd found a guy who actually saw her, the real her, Peels, and a past she was just beginning to understand. Now it was all being ripped away. She was out of the game before she'd even learned the rules. Peels. Her mind starts flashing memories as the dark water sucks her down. Sebastian's green eyes, his hands on her face, the way he looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. 2 weeks. That's it. Peels. Kinda weird that these are her final thoughts. Not her music, not her career, not the life she built. Just him. Just those 2 insane weeks. The cold is dragging her under, pressure building in her chest. She's done fighting. Her eyes flutter shut. Peels. And then silence. A final peaceful blanket folding over her as she sinks deeper and deeper into the black. Peels. The pressure is crushing her eyes, her lungs, her ears. The cold isn't even a feeling anymore, just a deep final numbness. Arya's body feels like someone else's problem. Her eyes drift shut. But bam! An arm wraps around her waist from out of nowhere. Peels. Someone yanks her against a rock-solid chest and starts kicking for the surface. The grip is like steel, a promise not to let go, hauling her back to a world she'd already given up on. Arya's eyes open. Green. Peels. A pair of green eyes stare right back at her in the dark water. She knows those eyes. Damn right she does. She memorized every shade of them. Sebastian. His face is pure focus, dark hair floating around his head. One arm is locked around her waist. Peels. The other is ripping them through the water like an engine. Peels. His legs are a freaking motor, shooting them both toward the surface. He didn't die in the fire. He's here. He's real. They explode into the night air together. Arya's first breath is a ragged, painful gasp of salt and oxygen. Peels. Her lungs feel like they're on fire. A scream rips from her shoulder. She's coughing up seawater, trying to purge the ocean and breathe at the same time. Sebastian. She can't get enough air. Her thoughts are a total mess. I thought you were gone. Peels. The house. Luigi shot me. He was one of them. Breathe. Sebastian holds her tight, treading water. His voice cuts right through the chaos, a solid anchor. Peels. I am here. It all went exactly as we planned. Just breathe, Bella. Her world is a spinning mess. Turning in his arms, she looks around at the absolute carnage. In the distance, the main house is a giant bonfire, flames licking a starless sky. Further out, Peels. The Lamberti yacht is also burning, listing hard as it sinks into the ocean. What? Sebastian pulls her towards something floating nearby. A small black zodiac raft. He lifts her in before climbing in after her, laying her down so gently. Am I dying? Peels. The question comes out so small, like a kid's. Sebastian's lips twitch, not that arrogant smirk she first saw. This is different, softer. No, love. Peels. He shot you with a blank. No bullet, but that crap can still burn you up close. It's going to hurt like hell for a few days, but you are not dying. He pushes her jacket aside, his eyes locking on her shoulder. The fabric is scorched, Peels, and the skin underneath is bright, angry red. A shallow graze runs along the muscle, already bruising at the edges. See, he touches the wound with unbelievable care. Grazed you, bruised you. It'll be sore for a bit, but you're okay. Arya just stares, Peels. Mind completely blown. None of it computes. What is happening? I don't get any of this. He yanks the cord on the outboard motor. The engine sputters, then roars to life. I couldn't pull you into this life, Bella. His voice is raw, Peels, nearly swallowed by the engine's racket. Peels. I love you too much to watch you burn, so I'm sending you home. But for this to stick, everyone has to think you're dead. The raft picks up speed, tearing through the black water. Once they're clear of the burning cottage, Peels. Sebastian pulls a small remote detonator from his pocket. He presses the button. The little motorboat, still tied to the dock, just vanishes in a fireball. A massive orange bloom erupts in the night as shrapnel rains down. Peels. Arya watches the venti house burn, watches the yacht sink, watches the boat she came on get vaporized. Every single image brands itself into her brain. Sebastian steers them toward a completely different cove. Peels. As they slice through the dark, he starts breaking it all down. The plan changed at the last minute. He keeps his eyes glued to the water ahead. Only Luigi and I knew. Everyone else, Margarita, Alfonso, Vince, Peels, every last one of them, they have to believe you are gone. Even them. The fewer people who know the truth, the safer you'll be. Arya's brain is running and trying to connect the dots. Why? Diego's people were watching. So were the Lombardis. Feels. Sebastian's jaw clenches. They saw Luigi shoot you. They saw you go into the water. They think he's with them now, which means he can work for me from the inside. The stone-cold logic of it all finally starts to click. Feels. You're putting him undercover. He is already there. The two guys who made it out tonight, I let them get away. They'll run back and report that the Ventus are finished, that you are dead, and that Luigi has flipped sides. Sebastian finally looks over at her, heals, and while all that's going down, you disappear. A new name, a new life, safe. A sudden rush of rage cuts through her shock. Her hands curl into fists. How could you not tell me any of this? Her voice is way sharper than she intended. I thought I was dying, feels. Sebastian. Her throat closes up. You let me believe I was going to die. His face gets tight, but he refuses to look away from the water. If you had known, you couldn't have sold it. Diego's men were watching. Feels. They needed to see real fear. They needed to see a real death. His voice drops. I am sorry, Bella, but it had to look real. Arya blinks, trying to get the world to stop spinning. So what happens now? She watches his hard profile in the dark. Feels. What are you going to do? Sebastian turns toward the shore, where a car is waiting in the shadows. Now, Bella, as a man who has risen from the dead, I've made Diego and the Lombardis think twice about ever messing with me again. Feels. Of all the hitters they sent tonight, only 2 are walking away, and that's because I let them. He looks back at her. I have put Luigi exactly where I need him. I have made sure you're safe. Now, I go back to work, back to Sicily, back to my life. Feels. The Zodiac's engine dies as they hit the shore, and Arya hears it. The unmistakable chop 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 of a helicopter. Feels. Sebastian's face turns to stone. Now I go back to my life. The words hit her like a punch to the gut, followed by something sharper. Total disbelief. She just stares at him, her face an open wound. What about us? A shadow crosses his face. Feels. His throat works as he swallows hard. When he finally talks, his voice is quiet, measured. Love is about sacrifice, isn't it? His eyes looked like they held a universe of pain. I have to let you go to keep you safe. The hardest thing I have ever had to do. Feels. The raft grinds against rocks. Sebastian is out in a flash, pulling the boat ashore. The helicopter is 30 yards away, rotors spinning, ready for a quick exit. He nods toward it. Feels. 20 minutes to the airport. Then he digs into a waterproof bag stashed in the Zodiac. He pulls out a passport wrapped in plastic. She is Bella Adoretti, Italian-American. There is 50 million in an account under that name. Feels. Pure anger flashes on her face. Her hands are shaking as she takes the passport. I don't want your money, it isn't mine. His eyes lock on hers. It's yours. From the house. From your mother. Aura would have wanted you to have it. Feels. She would have wanted you out of this life. Safe. With a chance to build whatever future you wanted. Tears start to blur her vision. She blinks them back, pissed at herself for crying. So, you had it all planned out. Every single detail. Feels. Her voice finally cracks. Did you ever really love me? Or was I just another chess piece on your board? Sebastian's face just breaks. In one fast move, he yanks her into him. His kiss is hard, desperate. Feels like he's trying to burn the taste of her into his memory for good. When he finally lets go, his own eyes are glistening. If I didn't love you this much, his voice cracks. If I loved you any less, you would be coming with me to Sicily right now. Feels. But I do love you, and that means I can't let you burn. I should have had a choice. Arya's fists are balled up in his jacket, clinging to him even though she knows it's over. This isn't just your call. You can't just this time. Feels. You would have chosen with your heart. Model. Feels. With a touch that was both soft and absolute, he grabbed her wrists, prying her death grip off his shirt. Someone had to be the adult here. Someone had to make the call that would save her, even if it completely wrecked him. From the chopper, Feels. A figure started jogging their way, a black outline against the chaos of the spinning blades. Miss Adoretti, we gotta go. The name didn't even register. Not right away. Bella Adoretti. Not Ari Venti. Never again. In 2 insane weeks, Feels. She'd basically ripped her own soul apart, ditching all the fake layers she'd built just to stay alive. She dug up her mom's entire history, found her own powers, and met a guy who saw right through every wall she'd ever put up. Feels. And just like that, he was booting her back into the real world, all alone, with a name that felt like a total fraud. Sebastian backed away. The water between them felt like ice, building the exact wall that would now be their entire reality. Sebastian, Feels, you need to leave. His voice was raw, completely shredded. Please, Bella, don't make this any worse than it is. Her throat just closed up. She wanted to throw down, to scream, to plant her feet and just refuse. But his eyes had her locked down, heels, and deep inside them she saw the brutal truth. The decision was already a done deal. He'd already cut her loose. And the absolute worst part, she actually got why. She dragged herself out of the Zodiac, heels legs, shaking on the wet rocks as a dude in a uniform came up, all business. Heels. Miss Adoretti, it's time to leave. Her eyes went straight back to Sebastian, who was frozen solid in the raft as water slapped against it. The giant fire from the house lit up one side of his face in flickering orange heels, leaving the other side completely dark. He looked like a statue made of fire and stone. Gorgeous. Impossible to reach. Already a ghost. I'm never going to see you again, am I? Something just broke in his face, heels. The corner of his mouth twisting into something that wasn't a smirk or a smile, but something just, I love you, Ara. It wasn't an answer. It was a final statement. A deep, real pain ripped through her chest, and she turned to the helicopter, heels, every step feeling like she was tearing herself in two. Sand turned to rock. Rock turned to the cold metal of the step. Efficient hands steered her inside, and she fumbled with the buckle, her fingers totally dead. Heels. The whine of the rotors got crazy loud. The chopper lurched into the air. Arya smashed her face against the window, her breath fogging up the glass. Down on the shore, Sebastian stood with his head thrown back, just watching her fly up into the night. Heels. He didn't wave. He didn't even move. He just stood there, hands at his sides, as the gap between them stretched out into forever. His face turned into a blur. The burning house, a tiny spark. The whole beautiful heels. Agonizing 2 weeks shrank down to a pinprick of light on the coast, and then it was just swallowed by the darkness. She squeezed her eyes shut, but it was too late. The image was burned in forever. Sebastian, heels, watching her leave from a shore surrounded by the ashes of what they'd built, what they'd lost, and what they were never going to have. Heels. That last picture became her own personal ghost. Every single night for a whole year, she'd see him standing on that shore. Every damn night, she would feel the man she loved letting her go. Heels. Arya Ellis re-entered the United States with an Italian passport that said Bella Adoretti and a driver's license with her real name. 2 women in one body, and neither of them felt real anymore. A full year. Heels. 12 months had gone by since she'd shuffled through customs at Detroit Metro, her heart beating like crazy. Positive someone would pull her over, ask questions she couldn't answer, heels, and expose the insane life she lived for 2 weeks in a place that now felt less like a memory and more like a fever dream. But nobody did, heels. Nobody asked a single thing, and in the long year that came after, nobody called. Not Sebastian, not Margarita or Alonso. No calls, no emails, not one single note shoved under her door. Just complete and total silence. Heels. Italy was starting to feel like a story she'd just made up, a dark fairy tale. The stone house in Scario, the garden where she almost wiped out, the dude with green eyes who was there to catch her. It was all dissolving into some hazy, fake memory. Heels. Except for a thing. Her nightly ritual, just before she passed out. She'd close her eyes and she would feel it again. Sebastian's mouth on hers, his hands holding her face. Heels. That final kiss on the beach as the helicopter blades beat the air and salt water mixed on their lips. Heels. It tasted like the ocean in pure desperation. She remembered how his fingers tangled in her wet hair, like he was trying to memorize the feeling forever, and it hurt every single time. It was a wound she flat out refused to let heal, heels, picking at the scab each night. But she just couldn't stop. 5 months after she got back, she opened her own therapy practice. The clinic was in the middle of Detroit, 10 floors up, with huge windows looking out at the city she grew up in. Her city, heels. The one she came back to take back. Her patients dumped all their problems on her, telling her stories of breakups and cheating, of love that went bad or just faded away. And she'd just listen, her professional mask locked on, taking notes, heels, asking the right questions, while every one of their stories just carved out more of the emptiness inside her, heels. That evening, Arya was at her desk, watching the sunset bleed all over the Detroit skyline. Last appointment. She rolled her shoulders, trying to get rid of the tension that basically lived there now. Her thoughts drifted, like they always did, heels to that first afternoon in Scario, the garden in the fall, his eyes meeting hers. She whispered into the quiet office, her voice barely a noise over the city's hum. Arya, it was just a dream. You have to stop living in a dream. Her intercom buzzed. Heels. Dr. Ellis, Pam's voice chirped. Your last patient is here, a Mr. Benedict. Arya grabbed her notebook and flipped to a new page. Pen ready, the professional mask sliding right back into place. Full name? A little pause. Feels. Pam's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, the one she used for the seriously hot clients. Nicholas Benedict, 37, and a very sharp dresser. Another beat of silence. He put down grief and loss as his reason for the visit. Feels. A tiny smile touched Arya's lips. Pam's little previews were a normal human part of her day. All right, Pam, send him in. She got up from her chair, smoothing down her skirt. She took her usual 3 steps to the middle of the room. Feels. Her little ritual to ground herself before a session. You are a professional, Arya. The second that door opens, your life waits outside. Everything you're carrying gets left at the door. Feels. The door swung open. She saw the shoes first, polished leather. No doubt they were Italian and expensive in that quiet way that just screams money. Then perfectly creased linen pants. Feels. A tailored jacket that probably cost more than her first month's rent. Her eyes moved up, and the world just stopped spinning. Green eyes, sharp, so familiar it was impossible, met hers from across the room. He shut the door behind him. Feels. His eyes never leaving her face. The lock clicked. That ghost of a smile she knew so well played at the corner of his mouth, knowing, subtle, and completely devastating. His skin was still tan from a year under a sun she couldn't even picture. Feels. And his scent filled the room. Salt and cedar and something wild underneath. Feels. The scent of the ocean. The scent of the earth. Bella. The name was a low, rough thing from his lips, soaked in a year of longing. Arya's own mouth dropped open, but nothing came out. Her heart was hammering against her ribs. Feels. A desperate prisoner trying to bust out. Sebastian Biano. The guy who had haunted every waking second and every dream for 12 miserable months. The guy whose kiss was her nightly prayer. The guy she loved, still loved, would always love. Feels. Was standing in her office like she'd summoned him with the sheer power of her own misery. He crossed half the room in 2 long strides. Arya. Her own name from his mouth sounded like a confession. He gave his head a slow shake. Feels, his eyes just drinking her in. Feels. You look incredible. And just like that, the spell was shattered. Her hand moved on pure instinct, way before her brain could even process. The sound of the slap was sharp and loud in the quiet room, snapping his head to the side. Fire burned in her eyes. Feels. Nicholas Benedict, she spat. Sebastian was faster. One hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. His other arm wrapped around her waist, crushing her body against his, and then his mouth was on hers. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't asking. Feels. It was a hostile takeover. For a split second, she was frozen in shock, and then her body remembered him. Every cell woke up, a muscle memory so deep it steamrolled all logic. She knew it right away. Feels. The year they spent apart had done nothing to kill the fire between them. Feels. If anything, the distance had just refined it into something way stronger, more dangerous. When he finally broke the kiss, they were both sucking in air. His hands came up to frame her face, his thumbs stroking her cheekbones. Arya, my love. Feels. I missed you so much. He leaned in again, and this time the kiss was soft, almost sacred. I couldn't come for you, he whispered against her lips, his voice raw, almost broken. Not until I had destroyed every threat. Feels. Not until I knew you were completely safe. Arya's hands found his chest, feeling the solid, real warmth of him through the expensive suit. She buried her face in his shirt and just breathed him in. Home. He smelled like home. And now, Feels. Sebastian's arms tightened, holding her like he was never going to let go. Feels. Now I want my wife with me, and I am never, ever letting you out of my sight again. She cranes her neck to look up at him, a hurricane of anger and love and relief ripping through her. A whole year, Sebastian, she says, her voice shaking a bit. Feels. An entire year passed. How did you know I didn't move on? That I wouldn't find someone else? That cocky, gorgeous smile she first saw in that garden in Scario spreads across his face, the kind that makes her want to punch him and kiss him at the same time. Feels. His lips find the soft spot on her neck. Because you leave your apartment every morning at 8:30, he whispers, kissing the hollow of her throat. Feels. You eat your lunch at your desk. It's almost always a salad or a sandwich. Another kiss, this one right under her jaw. You still have awful taste in wine. That bottle you bought yesterday must have given you a killer headache. His mouth traces her jawline. Feels. 2 months ago, someone set you up with that doctor from the hospital. You went to dinner. His eyes flick up to hers, a flash of smug victory in them. But I saw the look on your face. You weren't interested at all. Arya shoves against his chest. Feels. Making a little bit of space, even though her skin is screaming for his touch. You've had me followed this entire time. Did you really think? Sebastian closes the gap instantly, that I wouldn't protect you, even from halfway across the world. Feels. You couldn't send one text? Her voice cracks, totally giving her away. Just to let me know you were alive. That's all I wanted. His fingers weave into her hair, gentle and grounding. You think that was easy for me? Looking at photos. Feels. Watching you on a screen, seeing you but never touching you. Hearing about your day from somebody else instead of you. He presses his forehead against hers. But it's over now. The Lambertes are done. Diego is dead. There's no one left who can hurt you. Feels. For now, Arya whispers, blinking hard. Now we're together. His thumb traces her bottom lip. I am here with you, to build our family. His gaze was absolute, and to run the clan from this city. Like Venti, she breathes out. Feels. Exactly like Aura Venti. The full weight of it finally hits her. This was her mother's life, the one she hid so well. The one Arya just inherited, like it or not. What if I don't want any of this? But as soon as she says it, her own body calls her a liar. Feels. Leaning into his warmth, craving his touch, already surrendering. Sebastian just smiles, a look that says he sees every battle she's fighting inside. Your body is telling me a completely different story, Bella. His fingers brush her lips. Feels. Then his palm covers her heart, feeling its frantic beat against her ribs. Everything about you tells me you want me. Your pulse, your breathing, the way you lean in, even when you're trying so hard to be pissed off. Feels. Arya reaches up and yanks his mouth back to hers, kissing him with a full year of loneliness and fury and a desperate, burning love. Feels. When they finally break apart, she can talk again. So what happens now, Mr. Nicholas Benedict? His smile turns wicked, dark, my wife. He pauses, letting the tension build. First, we have a real wedding. The one you deserve. Feels. Not some rushed job with a terrified justice of the peace and a bunch of guys holding guns. His hand slides down to her stomach, his palms spreading possessively. Then we buy a house. Anywhere you want, your call. A fire ignites in his eyes. Feels. And then we raise our children. His voice drops, low and heavy with promise. But first things first. We should probably get started on that last part immediately. Feels. Arya grabs his tie, pulling him down to her eye level. No more fake names. Sebastian's smile is immediate. Deal. We live where I say. He nods, zero hesitation. Agreed. You keep the business away from our family. Feels. Nothing that can ever put them in danger. His face gets serious. Of course. Arya's fingers tighten on the silk tie, pulling him so close their breath mingles. And if you ever leave me again, her eyes lock with his, I swear I will kill you myself. Feels. Sebastian's arms snake around her, hauling her tight against him. I'm never staying away from you again, Bella. Never. He lifts her right off her feet. On pure instinct, her legs wrap around his waist, their bodies fitting together perfectly. Feels like the past year was just a bad dream. Feels. Sebastian, she tries to sound authoritative. It comes out like a breathy whisper. This is my office. He carries her over to the leather couch by the window, that killer smile plastered on his face. Feels. Aren't we supposed to be working through your grief and loss, Dr. Venti? His eyes are blazing with heat and pure mischief. We shouldn't waste another second. The last bit of the Detroit sun spills through the window. Feels. Bathing them in gold as he lays her down. Outside, the city keeps on living. Cars honk. People rush home. The world keeps spinning. But inside that office, for them, time just stopped. Sebastian's mouth finds hers again, but slower this time, deeper. Feels. It was a promise. A homecoming. Feels. Arya's hands dig into his hair, pulling him closer. 12 months of being apart. 12 months of ghost kisses and memories wearing thin. 12 long months of her trying to lie to herself that she could build a life without this man. And all of it just evaporated. She left her heart back in Scario. But Sebastian Biano just flew across an entire ocean to give it right back to her.